Body. I'm something closer to my normal start time. I had to get some groceries before I got started, and I may have to be a little more strict on the finishing time for myself, just because I wanted to do some writing and couldn't get that done during the day. But we are here, and we will enjoy Industries of Titan for at least, the full duration, and then we'll, if I get to do some extra, so much the better. But just wanted to try and set some expectations for the start. Let's jump into the game. Come on. You can do it. There we go. Brace yourself, games. The hallmark of quality.
Titan. Everyone comes to Titan with a dream. Our moon is one of limitless wealth. There are ancient riches here for those with the strength to claim them. But some dreams start smaller. A better life, more dignity, more comfort. Today, Titan is a place where you can buy those dreams, where anyone can profit. But it isn't easy. You have to prove yourself here. Those who settle here take that risk. And without their diligent labor, our power grid would fail. Pollution would overwhelm us. And our trade would collapse. It's hard work, but on Titan, hard work isn't enough. The bold, the strong, those are the people Titan rewards. Those are the ones who see their dreams through. Exceptional people. Friends to the Council. That is why we're giving you this opportunity, Founder. We expect great things from you. Make sure you live up to our expectations.
All right. So, usual introductions. So this is a game that I was given a key for many moons ago by Brace Yourself Games. I'm super stoked that they did that, and I am a massive fan of this. But worth saying that, it is good to disclose those interests no matter how much time has passed by. And my enthusiasm is genuine, but you should know that I've been given a copy for promotional purposes. On top of that, it's not so much news now, but this game will be getting a 1.0 release. I think the article said November. I could be wrong on that, but definitely by the end of the year, this game will have a full release, 1.0. I'm not 100% sure what the post-release support is, because I have a feeling I'm going to have a little bit of culture shock with version 1.0, simply because, I'm quite accustomed to seeing new updates for the game sort of every month, and I have to assume that the intention of doing a full release is to just, either move on to another project, or at the very least kind of let the team relax and maybe take a longer view of things. With that in mind, I think for a lot of games there tends to be sort of a hope for post-release support of some kind, but I suspect probably they're going to want to release the game, see how it does, and then I suppose there will be some thoughts in terms of where the game goes from there. And one of the main intentions in the kind of the closing closing months of early access definitely seems to be on building up the replayability and introducing things like a campaign mode. So, with that in mind, regardless of whether or not there's any post-release support, I mean, beyond what you'd normally expect, I think the intention is definitely to play something that I will continue to enjoy on a regular basis. And absolutely, it is my intention to continue. Like, I'm not doing this game just for early access. I am certainly a very big fan of it. I intend to continue playing the game on into version 1.0 and beyond. But I figured it's not bad to remind everyone that if you didn't know, this game, it doesn't have a release date, but it definitely has a pretty clear roadmap to the finish line. So we're going to pick up from where we were before. So we're playing Rosso's Solutions. I just did a normal standard game, normal difficulty, but we're on the Ruthless Opportunity map, and I'm trying to make the most of my my position. Like all things on Titan, the amount of artificial sunlight each part of the moon receives is not equal. Only the rich can afford to live in the brightest areas. Fragile bones are often reinforced with body mods in Titan's poor, hence the nickname Bowlegs for Darkside Dwellers. So I think at some point the Darkside Dwellers was intended to be a faction in the game, and of course one of the things that has changed is that instead of having factions in the game, there's now going to be different starting bonuses. So I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen with that lore or not, or if that's just going to be something that sort of stays on the drawing board. But that is actually one interesting way that the game has sort of been shaped by early access, where this idea of for like the campaign mode was originally something that was sort of not really considered, and then as it turns out, like that happened to be something that, alongside with the starting bonuses, happened to be something that wound up fitting quite well with the long-term plans for the game. So also one of the things, in some ways, like I think also this can maybe be the differences some people have with the early access experience in general, which is, I suspect for some people, that might even be a point of like something that is a source of disappointment. Is like, oh, I wanted factions and I'm not getting them now. But like to me, that's actually kind of neat to see how the game started off with one idea, and through the process of people playing it, and also just the reality. I mean, there is the saying, right? Necessity is the mother of invention, and I'm not entirely sure. Like, I don't know. I think there are probably some examples people can think of where it's like, yeah, see, they just took a really long time on these things and polished it, and it turned out beautifully. But honestly, there's a lot of stuff I can think of that has had a very long period of development that ultimately wound up being a big disappointment. I could actually think of more examples than that, than sort of these mythical projects that sort of had unlimited amounts of time to be worked on. And I think what tends to happen with those things is the world just moves on. And ultimately, the ideas that seemed really good at the start might even be a little old-fashioned by the time that they're out. But I don't know. Like, again, I'm the player of stuff. I'm not the maker of stuff. So, but yeah, it was kind of neat to see that shift. Because, I've kind of been wondering what new factions would be like. There's sort of something that, if you've been following the game for a while, you've always had the Landfallers option. But there's a little bit of a preview of what the starting conditions are going to be in the roadmap. And they seem really neat. So anyways, moving on, we managed to get rid of the rebels. So the next few turns are going to be about basically building out my advantages right now. So in the current position, I've got a factory. So we've got sort of my magnum opus style factory. I could add like a couple of worker modules, but in general, we're doing okay as far as production is concerned. Olaf, great to see you. I've got coffee today, so I always like when I have a coffee, because then I feel like I can report back to you with good news. But what was I going to say? I might be up a little late tonight, but words. Yeah, we got rid of the rebels. I've got 2 production lines now. Again, I'm letting my workers sort of run amok. Actually, it looks like I got a couple of idle ones, so maybe I do want to turn... Yeah, we can turn the processor back on, I suppose. Sorry, I'm taking a minute to think for myself. I do want to put down some storage containers. Got my work from home set up, but there's not a whole lot for me to do here. Oh, hang on. That's turned off. Right, okay, so we're repairing this thing. Then I'll be able to turn this off and turn this back on. But yeah, so essentially what I want to be doing, like I've got some foundations now down now, and I actually have a really big advantage in the sense that I've got a nice stockpile of minerals. So essentially what I want to be doing now is turning this advantage into like actual material gains. Now, there's a few different directions that I can go here. I don't really have a navy that's strong enough to take out the rebels yet. But what I can start focusing on a little bit more is sort of the growth of my enterprise. And there's a few very obvious ways that I can branch out. Hello, is it Murdoch's? How you doing? A couple of directions that I can take here is we've got a ruin monument, one over here and one over here. Now, these are fairly costly in terms of setup, but I get another 5 influence per minute while I'm set up. In addition, we've got a mineral node here. So one obvious step for me would be to build, a command center off in this corner, get it set up so that I'll have access to the ruin monument and the mineral node. When it comes to accessing the mineral node, to be honest, I actually just need the 1 tile. So that might even be something that the research center will take care of for me. But I also want the ruin monument up and running. So clearly, I'm gonna invest properly for that. I don't mind waiting a little while for this ruin monument because it's kind of out of my way. But I do eventually want to try and claim this isotope node. And ideally, I would be able to put the mine down sort of somewhere here because I can have a road access it. In reality, I'm actually probably going to have to build a series of command centers to be able to actually make it out to the region that I want. And then finally, when all that's done, I'll be expanding out sort of in this direction, and that will be where my residential areas go. You'll notice that in general, it's kind of away from, there's some zethane generated from the crack here and the crevice over here. But the idea is to avoid the pollution that'll be generated in this area and this area. Oh, that's a good one. Murdoch's the 1984. That's the Apple 1984, I think. But yeah, one of the things I'm going to do as an intermediate step, so it's always worth remembering, like in order to get a command center up, I'm going to need power for it, which is a little bit in short supply for me. I'm going to need... I'm going to need the minerals, I'm going to need the isotopes to be able to upgrade it, and then of course I'll need to be able to actually build the infrastructure, and of course have the workers to support it and all of that. And what I may want to focus on a little bit more would be the roads and the transport hub first. Now the good news is that I don't actually have an immediate need for the mineral node. What I do actually have some use for is the minerals and isotopes in this region. So this will generate pollution. This is not always a favorite option of mine, but it's one that I actually think will serve me reasonably well here. I'm just trying to decide. So if I put the... This is the best place to put the mineral node, the mine. So it will affect my workers here, but that's life. So it'll cost me 60. Do I have any... I guess I was saving up for these obsidian ruins. That probably makes sense for me to still wait. I've got 52 tier 1, 14 tier 1. Yeah, I mean, I'll need to extract in a bit, but I think saving up for the obsidian ruins here make enough sense. I hope you are doing well tonight. So at some point I'd like to activate this for the, the pollution and such. But again, the focus at the moment is to clear out these obsidian ruins. Looks like you are repaired, so we'll launch you. One important thing here is to get the factory, like the work from home setup, back to work. This is such a slow mover. So we're going to turn off the shipyard for now. I could build another ship, but in this case I'm gonna sit on my minerals for a bit. And actually one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn down the tier 2 to tier 3 mineral processor. And this is just so that I can get a couple of tier 2s up and running. I'm going to need those for construction. So nope, looks like we've already found our first rebel base. By the way, fun detail. This will count as like my one contribution to the game. I had asked Sir Karma, who's the art director on this game. This is when the game first came out on Steam. Still in early access, but Steam early access. And I sort of asked him, what is a detail that you like that you've put in the game? Because like if you notice, this game has a lot of little details in terms of just the way the buildings work and sort of what they do. In fact, I think as a part of sort of Brace Yourself's 10% time, I believe a number of lighting effects were sort of explored and implemented in this game. So a nice little example about how something that kind of seems like just rank communism actually results in higher productivity. But in this case, he had mentioned, so obviously lots of little details. So I figured, if anybody's going to know this, the art director is. And I said, what is a little detail that you like that you feel doesn't really get noticed or recognized that much in the game? And there were actually two that he pointed out. One were the little, there's like little pylons almost that kind of move up and down in the shipyard. I'll point them out the next time we have this thing turned on. But the other one that he pointed out was the kind of the dust being blown off of the ruins. But what was funny is that when he referred to them, I couldn't see them in the game. And it turns out that nobody else could see them in the game either, that there had been some bug or some change that actually removed this effect. And it was apparently the fact that he mentioned that sort of made someone, possibly him, realize, oh, hang on, you can't see them in the game. So I'm not 100% sure what caused it, but I am glad that at least one of my questions could result in a good thing. Maybe that's not the way I wanted to frame it. That's just ever since that happened, I kind of like looking at the buildings and saying oh yeah, that's, those are there now because, of that anecdote. It did just occur to me that we've got 19 of 20 employees. I think that's because I turned on the... I think that's because I got the ship up and running, so I want to convert when I can. Oh, but we don't have artifacts, so... Johnny Big Time. So you single-handedly created this game from the ground up, is what you're saying. Absolutely. I have the artistic talent. I taught myself Magic of Voxel over a weekend, and, I just you know, the only C++ you really need to learn is like import strategy. And then, you know, you just basically do make underscore game. And then the really important step here is that you actually need to set the parameter good equals true. I think a lot of games miss the good equals true flag, and that's why like the game isn't as good. So you need to make sure that you put the good equals true flag in. But you know, kind of from that, you know, I went over to Brace Yourself Games and I said, you know, you guys got this really cool game, Crypt of the Necrodancer, and, you know, I noticed you're growing and you acquired this studio called Tetragron Works. And so I really feel that a game about this large corporate entity that keeps buying things up and ruining lives is really up your alley. And then they said, what an excellent idea. So excellent, actually, that we're making our own game, which is a real game and is much better than your fictional story. Hi, Johnny. How you doing? For those of you who don't know him, Johnny Big Time is a streamer on Twitch. And you can sometimes see him. But not always. Johnny Big Time is I think he still counts as a variety streamer. I know he's just playing a lot of Fortnite lately. But he definitely has a very good sense of humor, very clippable streamer. And I don't know if he will ever play Industries of Titan, but he better. Or at the very least, he had better get back to XCOM, because XCOM is the gateway drug to Phantom Brigade. Well, there's an easy way to change that. Anyways, how you doing, Johnny? Okay, so clearly I can't move any further west unless I want to learn what it is to get hit by a turret. We are not going to wind up digging up the isotopes because I do want to take down the ruins here. Wrong ruins. These ruins. So we're waiting on the 20 influence from that. Smokestack could deal with a little more love, but we kind of have all the workers moving around the way. I really like the Zethane emissions. Like, just look at that. But yeah, so I think in this case we're just gonna sit back and wait a bit on the on some of the improvements. I'll maybe take advantage of some of the layout here. So I've been meaning to put a battery down. Actually, you know what? One thing I can do. So we'll turn off the work from home setup for a little bit. It does look cool. You too can enjoy this cool experience. On Steam, version 1.0 coming out in November, Johnny. I'd tab out and get the Steam address, but I know that pauses the game, so... Oh, that's a neat touch. This also gets a little purple in the lower areas. I think one of the things I just like too, like obviously a screen shake seems like such a small thing, but it just really sells the effect. Okay, so this was built in a little bit of a rush, so let's see if we can do anything else. So one thing I've definitely been complaining about has been the speed, so we'll add another engine. I might even add two, but we definitely need at least one more. Now as far as power is concerned, we can jam another battery in there, I think. Could probably jam two, actually. So one in here, one in here. We have a decent amount of fuel, but maybe we can Chuck one of these in. Yeah, a little something extra. Oh, hang on. We're at the limit with 100. I'm a clown. I should have got this artifact patch ages ago because we've been maxed out at 100. I completely forgot. So these obsidian ruins, we actually need to take out a rebel camp before we can actually grab that. That was really reckless of me. Okay, we're going to call this the Lost Tiger because that's the name of the first ship. Lost Liger. Yep, you know what happens now, Johnny. Everyone comes out of the woodwork to tell me how the game works. All right, little zippier. I was thinking of adding a third engine, but I don't need to go crazy about it. But I guess we'll give our employees can have a couple hours of sleep before they start their new shift. But yeah, so that's going to slowly build up its power. I could turn off the 2 lasers, but I think it's going to be sitting in the area for a bit. So. But yeah, this was a bit of a, well, more than a bit, but this was a blunder. I'm actually thinking maybe what I could do. Nah, this really is the ideal. So we'll wait out the artifacts. This isn't terrible because as I gain the artifacts, I can just convert some more workers from the regular factory. I guess the only other question now is how do I want to spend the rest of the points? So this absorbs pollution, this stores energy, this also absorbs pollution, which will mean that it absorbs zethane, which is probably not something that I want so close to the crack. Definitely lots of inexpensive artifacts here if I so choose. Actually, you know what? Let's start claiming some expensive tiles. So I'll get 1 isotope, and then I'll get 1 mineral patch for when that mining operation is set up. I don't think I need... Actually, I do need the isotopes sooner rather than later. But I do get to turn off production line. That just frees up more works for my other nefarious deeds. Oh. I may want to keep a couple of tier 2s sticking around, so... Processor's still doing its thing. And now we can convert our last couple of employees. So I need 3 more when all is said and done. And then of course we'll get some replacement... Ooh, if I had 30 seconds, that would have been perfect, but... Okay, once we're up to 20, we'll grab one of these mineral slots, but really what we're waiting for are the artifacts to be buzzed down. This is one of the rare times I like to speed up, but it's just because I'm sort of waiting for plans to get done. Wrong factory. So when I can, I'll grab whatever migrant ship fits. This has got 52, so we'll claim that. So again, the reason I'm starting with this artifact patch is this kind of has the reach for all the other tiles that I want to claim. And you can mine out these tiles a little bit faster if you do build a proper mine on them. Also, it happens to fit nicely in terms of the coverage. Although, come to think of it, that that mineral slot I just claimed is not actually in range. That's fine. I could just expand the mine. Of course, if I'm expanding the mine, then I suppose technically I didn't need to move it down here. But then it has access to the pylon, so it still works. All right, I think I heard the conversion complete song, so we will convert one more. And one thing I might want to do here, well, we already have some people working on cleanup and supplying the smokestack, so yeah, it looks like we got a pretty healthy run going already, so there may be an argument for me upgrading all of this, but I think I'll resist the urge for now. Oh, actually, this one would have been more profitable otherwise. Given the fact that we have some idle workers, I think I'm actually going to set them to work extracting these resources. It's sort of counter to what I was trying to do, which is to set up the mine to do it, but obviously it's going to take us a while to get the artifacts up and running. And one of the things I'm working on right now is just to try and earn enough money to start buying some upgrades. So I'm going to need to figure out where I want to put this transport hub, particularly because I'm also going to need to like lay the road. I'll probably wind up putting it here, but there might be an argument for this as well. Tough to say. Although I guess I should probably get building it now. Well, I guess we can slow things down. Okay. So, the point of this is so basically what I want is some kind of a roadway that's going to be able to get to the smokestack. So I need to go from the factory to the smokestack, which on its own sort of implies I build the roadway like this. Now, one drawback to that approach is that it makes slightly more sense to have my defensive turret set up here, given that this is basically the corner of the map. There's another possibility that I may want to blow up the energy. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put the transport hub here. Yeah, none of this really has to be permanent. This is also going to take a while to sort of... Oh, drat. I was not thinking at all. So yeah, this is all well and good, but I actually have activated this ruin, so that's not... I don't actually have a roadway for any of this. So maybe what I do instead is I build my roadway... Like I build the transport hub in this area. Yeah, so take these two down, and I can have the road run through like this. I still don't really have direct access to the shipyard. Eventually this will be taken down, so we will be able to. But this makes more sense. So with that in mind, we'll take out these two ruins before anything else. Also, looks like we are full up on tier 3 minerals, so I probably want to get on that sooner rather than later. turn off the conversion capsule. There's really no need for it right now. Yeah, so at the very least, with the beginning of a transport hub, I can start putting down the roads. That'll help me with the tier 3 minerals. And then I need to wait for the 30 here. I mean, I can always trade credits or something, but I'll settle for being sort of patient. We need 5 artifacts to start absorbing the pollution, so I think I'm going to start with that here. Again, I think I'm probably not going to activate this ruin given how close my fuel turbines are to it, although maybe I'll move the fuel turbine when the time comes. Stores energy. This isn't a bad one because it stores fuel and gets rid of pollution. Yeah, so I think this will be my next target once we get the 3 artifacts. One thing that's nice about this is it does potentially lower my net worth, which in this case affects the threat meter. And the reason why I want my net worth to go down is just so that I can spend time building industry rather than defensive structures. Obviously, this was the Lost Tiger was sort of built in a hurry. This is not my ideal defensive, defensive ship. The hope is that we'll be earning a lot more money and be able to buy something a little sterner. Oh, apparently this thing... Wait. Why does it need to be hooked up to a power grid? Is that right? Doesn't seem like it needs... Oh no, yeah, because if I want it to store the energy. Although even now it says it's storing 4K of 4K. And I don't have an alternative grid. We'll see how it works. It may be that this is sort of just spinning its wheels right now. I'll probably wind up having to put down an energy pylon to get the command center up anyway. But we'll worry about that a little bit later. Right now, I built a smokestack. Jesus. I wanted to build a transport hub, not a smokestack. So I still have 8 artifacts to go. They might actually finish on the isotopes before I'm ready to put down the mine, but... So we'll grab this one. I'll probably save up for the 30 isotopes, sorry, 30 influence, and then... Well, actually, there is a small argument to clearing out the path directly to the factory now that I think of it. I think I'll actually wind up doing that instead. I could increase the speed at which I gain influence by trading the red artifacts. I'm not quite ready to do that. Oh god, I'm an idiot. So I'll build the roads where I can. So just one more to go. Eventually we'll sort of build it around and sort of have everything connected up, but this is definitely going to be a longer term project. Particularly with the placement of the 2 activated relays. The other thing that I can do, because I'm sitting on a reasonably reasonable stack of tier 3 isotopes, I could upgrade some of my factories for more workers. Alternatively, I could just simply build more factories and stick workers in them, and that will help my cash balances. Now, that is going to have a cost in terms of number of people who die to pollution, but that still may not actually be a bad idea right now, because I'm sort of, you can see that I'm sort of spinning my wheels. Yeah, you know what? Changed my mind. So let's go to production. We'll build another factory, and it's basically just going to be the work from home setup. I might even have a template for that now that I think of it. Although it certainly doesn't hurt for me to build that on my own. Now power is going to be a consideration. So I am going to want to build some kind of a power system at some point. You can probably squirrel it away in the corner here for now. I love building the transport hubs. Road, please. Yeah, so normally I have like a generator which is beside the headquarters, but in this case I don't quite have the space for it. I could just build a single generator, but that's not as efficient in terms of the rate. Oh, you know what? This is the wrong place for me to build the transport hub. Because I don't have a way out. Well, I mean, it's possible that the trucks can drive through, but I actually probably want to build it here and... Yeah, build it along these two is actually the better call. Okay, well, I haven't committed too much to it, so we can get by, but I am going to need the isotopes. Or sorry, the influence, not the isotopes. So again, just a reminder, this factory is so that I can have more workers to generate money. Influence is going to come when I get these ruined monuments built up. So one of the reasons why I haven't been trying to go after the monument quite yet is that is going to be something that accelerates the rate at which I gain net worth. So that'll mean that the threats become the rebels become a bit more of a threat, which again is potentially something that will that's potentially something that's going to hurt me if I don't build up my defense. I really need to find a way to dump some money into mineral projects. We're almost done the artifact patch. I guess one thing I could do would be to get another... Yeah, we'll put down another fuel turbine here so we can combine the two. There we go. So I'm going to be able to build the transport hub here, but I'm going to need to upgrade the energy pylon. Unfortunately, that shuts down the smokestack. So yeah, clearly I wasn't thinking all of this through, but I've got a couple of ways out. Okay, so that thing goes down. We'll replace that with a highway. Then we'll have, in theory, a full path to the factory. Once I start mining out this area, we'll also be able to access at least one of the two factories over here. This one, we're ready to set up the work from home. Okay, so as always, we start with the energy pylon and the... I guess I do it the other way around. Did I get this wrong? Oh, I put 3 in. Nuts. Okay, so... I'm not building the power infrastructure here, so this is going to take a while to get online, but I'm not too fussed about it. I mean, I'm partly doing this just so I can dump out some of my other resources. I already got this wrong. There we go. Perfect work from home setup. First time. So once this all gets power, we'll be able to grab a few more ships. And I would have preferred to claim these ruins to get a second transport hub built, but I think I'm going to need to save up 40 influence to be able to grab another isotopes patch. So we're almost at the end of our red artifacts here, but... So we're going to be out of fuel for a little bit, but we've got enough saved up that we should be able to see it through. But yeah, so I'm gonna need to grab another isotopes patch so we can actually grab what we need when the mine gets built. But yeah, so the idea here is now that we've got trucks that should be able to take waste directly to the smokestack, which should hopefully mean we've got a more efficient operation. And it's starting to snow, so everybody's going to be slower moving stuff. That's a pretty lucky one here, so it's a pure 10 people, no waste, nothing to clog up the spaceport. I'm pretty happy with that. We're going to have... It says here that we're going to have 627 at the end of the shift. Now, technically, I can get by without paying my employees, so there's nothing to really stop me from buying another building. It may make some sense for me to start buying up like the residential and office buildings, but before I do that, I actually do need to be able to generate power a little more reliably than I do at the moment. So for the time being, I'm gonna be a little more responsible. Okay, this is something we were waiting for, so we'll build a mine here. I may build a second just to make it a little more efficient. Actually, yeah, there's nothing really stopping me from doing that now. Or there is something stopping me from doing that now. I don't have tier 3 minerals anymore. So that gives me a nice excuse to turn all the factories back on. You'll notice we've definitely dealt with our waste problem, which is nice. Okay, so we've got room for 4 more citizens. Again, I'm waiting on 40 influence to be able to grab another one of these isotope patches. Although for now we can grab the minerals from here. And I think we can afford to speed up a little bit. Okay, so something's killing my batteries. Probably the factory. Okay, well, with that in mind, can't really have that. Let's clear out... Olaf, you handsome devil, thank you very much. 2 years, it's a hell of a milestone, but I've obviously, realistically, if we're measuring the number of subs that you've given to people in the channel, in particular, I'm delighted actually by the number of times that people will come into the chat and say, like, got the PayPal notification, so I refresh for the button. Oh, nice. Yeah, the number of times people come in and say, oh, I got a sub, that's really nice. And the fact that I'm able to say with a certain degree of pride, like, you know, Olaf was the one to give it to you. I feel like you should be celebrating like your 500th year in the channel or something like that. It certainly feels like you have, well, it's not just feels, like you have obviously gone above and beyond in terms of the channel here. But with all of that in mind, it certainly gives me great pleasure to see that you have been able to take some time and reward yourself with a sub. Again, I really can't, you know, I can't say it enough. I appreciate not just what you do for my channel, but I know that you're, you know, you also kind of enable channels that I like myself. And particularly, you know, you sometimes do that even when you're not necessarily being recognized as well as I think you should. So it's something I never want to take for granted. And, but with that in mind, when I see that it's something for you, that makes me a little bit happier. And you use my emotes, which also tickles me the right way. Johnny, if you're still watching, ask me a question about this game. I want you to play it. So I turned off the habitat temporarily because it's currently in leisure time. So right now there isn't a penalty for failing to meet the leisure needs of your citizens, and I'm looking to generate more power. I think we also had another... Yes, we did have another floor. So although I was going to build a big stack of batteries, I can still probably get away with it, but I need to... how many factories until you start killing... We already started killing people. Soren, the mean rebel guy, threatened us. Oh, this is sort of a coded message for those who know. Has anybody noticed on Twitch that there is a they're experimenting with this new feature now where like you can give streamers feedback. It's like one of 5 categories. You can pick 3 among like 5 different categories, and they're like largely high skill, so on and so forth. So it's randomly assigned. Like not every channel gets these. Is that your recommendation for the stream? There's other. I've learned there are other channels that do this, or not channels, but other sites that do this. One thing that was funny. So there's a chat. I think this is really only going to make sense to Johnny, but there is a particular channel that I was delighted to see has the feedback option, and I would like to say that I'm a bigger man, but I'm not. I noticed that there was a category for responsiveness, like specifically in referring to interactions with chat. So I made sure, it's anonymous feedback, so I made sure to just leave a big ol' thumbs up attaboy on responsiveness to chat. This is a little bit like, I guess the comparison you could make is like in Hearthstone, how they limited the way that you were able to talk to, obviously you're only given a certain number of character, like a certain number of things you could say to someone, but there was like the BM meta, like what thing you could say that's the most sarcastic to your opponent. Apparently you can do that with Twitch. I was amused, at least. Well, I mean, if I fall asleep, would you really know? Tell you what, if I get enough bits, I promise I will do a nude stream. I'm not gonna say what the bit number is. Needs more coffee? I still got half of it. It's getting a little lukewarm though, so I should probably drink it quick. Okay, we're doing a bit better power-wise, so... Is it what? I guess it's whatever number you want it to be. I don't know if it still counts as like a TOS violation if I were to like be highlighting the fact. I'm actually modest enough that I probably would not feel comfortable doing my audio-only stream in anything less than like a full outfit. But yeah, so I mean, I technically don't need to have the factory open here, but it is kind of nice to have the extra slots. I've also got 40 influence, so we can grab another isotope patch. But yeah, so one of the reasons why I've been doubling up the fuel turbine and the energy plant is that you now... So it used to be that you kind of would get fuel turbines for free. Energy plants always required at least one worker. But basically now you need to spend one worker to work the like the location. So in this particular case here, I like doubling up the energy plant and the fuel turbine because they will give me they'll sort of give me the most generation for the employee that I'm giving up. That logic doesn't necessarily hold once you start upgrading things like the mines and the smokestacks, because you also have to start you kind of need to start putting more workers in to keep the production levels up. But in general, it's not a bad idea to invest. Invest in upgraded infrastructure, assuming you can defend it. If you can't defend it, then obviously you want to be able to bury it, but I don't have that worry right now. Also, we got the last 4 workers, so we're going to be earning quite a bit more. So it looks like we get almost exactly 2,000 a turn, which is nice. What that's going to mean is we can basically buy 2 buildings each work cycle. In fact, at that rate, let's buy some more trucks. And I think I'll actually get a mine as well. So again, this will generate a lot of pollution. Not all of which I think gets covered. Yeah, so the pollution that's being generated by this mine is not actually being sucked out of the air. But the idea here is we just scoop up everything that we can off the ground here, and that will support us until we can get proper infrastructure set up, which will be part of the future plans. Like we're getting to a point now where we're looking okay as far as energy generation. We'll also be able to upgrade the fuel turbine, the energy plant, to get things a bit stronger. Actually, let's start doing the upgrades now. I may not be able to afford all of it, but I'm going to start filling up the batteries first, and then we'll upgrade the energy plant. So yes, we've got a fuel drain going on, but that won't last that long. Once this thing is full, I'm gonna upgrade the energy plant. Also, I don't really need to keep the ship log open. But yeah, so it's going to be a bit slow just while I pick up what's on the ground here for the isotopes and minerals. You notice that we're, like, the factory's kind of got to get back to filling up the mineral and isotope quotas. But we've got plenty of workers, so I don't think it's going to take us too long. If I get an idle worker message, I'm probably going to add a couple of worker slots to the factories, but I think in this case we should be fine. Okay, so we will combine the mines. Again, this is more of an efficiency play than anything. I may also want to start considering the threat level. And there's a couple of arguments I could make. It's like, maybe I want another ship, maybe I want to invest in a turret. There's a few different ways that I can handle the rebel threat. Maybe I'll just play it by ear and see, kind of see what the... Oh, good lord. We'll see what the... what things look like a little bit closer to the threat. I can probably make this go down a bit by activating a few more inert ruins, but I'm a little reluctant to do that. One other thing I can do as well is just spend resources. That'll knock down my net worth as well. So this is going to sink me for... yeah, let's go for it. I'll also upgrade the energy plant. That just gives me a nice foundation to grow from. Okay, yeah, so this is just going to extract the minerals or the isotopes faster, but it's not going to require any more workers, which was the intention. And at this point, we're just going to wait for the upgrades to come through. Once they do, I might consider turning the shipyard on again. But I will kind of want to make sure we have the energy we need. Oh, sorry, Citizen Karma. So I was kind of expecting that based on the mine. And unfortunately, we're going to see more of that as time goes by. But at this point, it's cost of doing business. Also, given my surplus of artifacts, it may be an idea for me to build a research facility. Actually, that might be something I can stick in the empty plot. Nah, we'll still leave that open for the... I think we'll leave that for the... sorry, the... we'll leave that for a turret in case we need one. So let's buy up the defense turret just in case. Oh, wow, that went through. Yeah, so the mine, that mine got to work pretty quick. I'm gonna hold the line a bit and stick with generating the well. We can donate minerals. Oof. Assuming that's going to rip through those pretty quick. So maybe an idea. I may actually get to a point where I need to build that command center sooner rather than later. Yeah, I'm building the defense turret just because I don't know if I'm going to be able to build another ship in time. You know what? I'm going to donate the last of the tier 1s. So let's take this one down. Actually, it would have been better to take out the obsidian ruins here. It's a little bit closer to the ruin. Well, actually, these ones would work too. Okay, I'll split the difference. I'll take the... It's not really splitting the difference. It's actually going all the way to the left instead. Yeah, so I gotta wait on the 20 influence.
Salvage complete.
Okay, now we'll build a science lab. Or we'll get the blueprint for a science lab. So the reason I'm keeping the residential office and conversion center at the very end of the list, and then eventually storage facility, it's going to take me a bit of effort to get that infrastructure up. And honestly, one of the things that keeps me from being a little more efficient with the kind of like the residential buildings and such is my... I have a bit of a tendency to... to neglect my power needs. I tend to basically have some really heavy power demands on my my residential areas, and I need to kind of build a few more energy plants, and also just kind of get the workforce up, so on and so forth. There's a few things that I'm going to do to try and balance out those competing priorities. In the meantime, though, I think I'm still going to keep the... Okay, good. So we can build a defensive turret if I need... Actually, I can afford one, so why not build it now? And then for the science building... I'm just trying to think where I want to stick it. I mean, I guess we can start with one here. I don't have the minerals for it, though. Okay. We'll just let... Again, I'm using the speed up button a little more often than I like to, but it's just convenient. Also a little curious at the fact that doesn't seem like any of my employees are cleaning out the garbage, even though the smokestack should be active. Okay, so we're going to turn this thing off. We'll assign one. I want to be a little careful how I'm handling this. Okay, we can afford a science lab now, so I think I said I was going to stick it here. And a lot of my efforts are going to be dedicated towards upgrades where I can. So for instance, I'm going to need 144 to be able to level up my defensive turret. So if I can, I'm going to focus on mining up isotopes. But if the mine, if the mine takes out the isotope patch faster than I was expecting, clearly I'm going to redirect the attention towards some of these minerals. Okay, but one thing that's going to be helpful with this science lab is I'm going to be able to redirect some of the net worth towards improvements. So resource patch harvesting rate 20%. I don't know if that counts for the mine. Conversion capsule waste generation per employee -2, or reduced fire growth rate. So I feel like some of these I want to scrap. Employee salary -15% seems pretty good. Okay, I can see why reducing the fire growth rate would be helpful. I'm gonna... Oh, well, it's already underway. Okay, I think I've got kind of a map in terms of how I'm gonna... Oh, they're looking for... Oh, I don't have any tier 1 minerals anymore? Yikes! Okay, well, I guess we know what the mine's targeting. Okay, so now I need to think about command centers. Looking pretty good, actually. So one possibility I can explore here is that this energy pylon originally existed. Immortal, is it Velity? Thank you very much for the follow. This pylon originally existed to be able to give some power to the shipyard. Now, one thing I could do as an alternative would be to set up a pylon, say, here, and then I could, basically upgrade it to reach everything. It's pretty clear that I'm going to need to, well... Yeah, I'm going to need to take down at least one ruin to be able to get this thing working. Appreciate the commentary-based streaming style. Keep it up. Well, thank you kindly, and I appreciate the lurk. I never take attendance, so I know a lot of people like to indicate that they're lurking but I sort of feel like if I'm not going to have a camera and if I'm going to do a lot of commentary, it's kind of my job to keep going. Oh no, Citizen Packy too. All the Brace Yourself characters are dying. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's kind of my job to be as entertaining or as informative as I can. So I always appreciate the heads up, but it's certainly never expected. But I'm glad. I really do appreciate the compliment. It's I don't know. Like, I don't know about the rest of you, but like I don't leave comments on YouTube, and I don't always chat in chat. And when I do chat in chat, I'm often quite different from the way that I am on a broadcast. And so even though I don't act the way that I personally would like, I actually really do like it when people leave comments or like when people express appreciation. Like, who wouldn't like that, right? But it is just one of these things that I appreciate, partially because I know it can be a bit of a rarity. Like most of the time you just want to be entertained, right? You don't necessarily want to, help a streamer's insecurities or anything like that. But that's just a very elaborate way of saying thank you. All right, so we've got a couple more isotope patches, which I'd prefer to claim if I can. Obviously, because I kind of I was surprised by how quickly we converted the tier 1 minerals. I needed to kind of settle for this minerals patch here, but I'm hoping that we can sort of turn around and focus on isotopes again, just because that's going to determine how quickly I can get upgrades in. I'm also a little suspicious at the lack of tier 2s, but it could just be because, yeah, we're basically just picking up the tier 2s as fast as they stick them in. Oh yeah, sorry, this is something I've been meaning to do for a while. Finally put the storage down. That should help. Always makes me a little sad to see people stepping over garbage like that, because in reality, like, we've got a roadway, we've got an empty smokestack, like there's no excuse. One thing I could do would be to have dedicated actually, you know what? We'll see. And reduced fire growth is done. So I think I said I was gonna. So I haven't actually done the scrap before, but in this case, I don't really see the need to avoid the sort of the scrap or the waste penalty. I think I'll give my employees energy drinks for sure. Reduced burrow cost, maybe. I can definitely see an advantage to a better migrant ship arrival. This is a good bridge to have. Trade tickets is one that I found helpful. Okay, yeah, so we're probably going to go down this path before anything else. But honestly, for now, is just looking for excuses to spend artifacts to knock my net worth down. Pollution resistance is also good, and it's probably cheaper for me to go this way than through here. Anyway, we'll see what the game serves up. So we're getting close to what we need for the influence. Now, I never did settle on where I was going to put that pylon. So this is what's readily available to me, and I think probably as a second best, I should settle. Although I'm going to need to wait for my factory to produce one. I usually just like kind of waiting and watching this like a hawk and then sort of ninjaing it out before they can put it into the factory. But sometimes my employees are a little too quick for me. So let's see. Let's see whether or not I can pull it off. Oh man, they've already exhausted the mineral patch. Oh, we had it briefly. Okay. I'm too impatient for this. I'm going to turn off the isotope input for a little bit. Yeah, so this is actually just in terms of an assessment of my overall ability at Industries of Titan. One comment I would make about my gameplay style would be I allow myself to get hit by a few too many bottlenecks, in my opinion. Like, I really feel like I don't need to have these extended periods where I'm waiting for certain things to happen. I could probably be a little bit better at planning and just kind of have this nice, consistent, nice consistent system where just stuff is happening. I don't need to tell workers to do, action X, Y, or Z. It all just sort of happens. Now, again, I'm not gonna wear a hair shirt, about it or anything like that. Like it's not a deal breaker, particularly on the normal difficulty. But in terms of efficiency of play, and I think one of the ways that these types of games work is just generally that you kind of have this nice swell of activity and you're just constantly growing and constantly improving. And particularly on the Ruthless Opportunity setting, the whole idea is that it's a challenging map, but you're given a lot of resources with which you can really kind of go blasting out of the gate and just achieve a lot more than what you would on some of the others. So the fact that I'm sort of sitting and waiting for some things to happen can mean I'm potentially giving an advantage to rivals. Now, there's one fewer isotope in this region than this one, but this is the better spot for my energy pylon. So that's why I'm doing it this way. Reduced... Oh, we finished the scrap. So this is the first scrap that I've done. Not entirely sure it got me all that much. I think it maybe just saved me a bit of time. Anyway, I think I did say we were going to give them energy drinks, so 11 minutes and we're good to go. I'm not opposed to the reduced burrow cost. I'm probably not going to use it, but... yeah, I don't know. I've never felt really comfortable with the idea of scrapping technology, and I'm maybe not convinced that you get enough from scrapping for me to do that regularly, but I also haven't interacted with the science mechanics as much as other people have, so maybe there's something for me to learn later. Okay, we're at 82% on a threat level, so I may want to consider ships. Now, I could build another one of the Lost Tigers, or I could try and build something a little sterner. I guess the question is, how much money am I going to have for it? I think... I'll build a Harpagus. It's a little stronger. It's not going to be all that different from the Lost Tiger, but it's a little variety, and who doesn't like that? So if you're wondering why these citizens are dying, we can go to the pollution overlay. Oh, that's definitely not what I was expecting to see. It's actually relatively clear. Yeah, 8% pollution, and that still was enough to kill someone. That's a little surprising, I suppose. All right, this mine's back to being idle. Oh, the heat wave has such a neat effect. So you can kind of already see it on the patch, but everything's going to start shimmering. So my preference is to spend the money on getting the remaining buildings before using credits to buy up additional influence for tiles and such. Although I guess I finally get to put down that energy pylon I was meaning to. So I'm still going to need to upgrade it, but I can do that with tier 3s. So that means we get to turn this guy back on. So I have a small... Basically, the fact that I've got citizens who are dying does impose a little bit of a... It does impose a bit of a penalty in the sense that I do need to spend influence to get migrant ships back. But taking a look, yeah, we'll have 1643, so at the very least I can get a conversion center up if I so choose. And then HKUDP, how you doing? I've been delighted, I think Terra Invicta sort of started this, but I've been delighted at the number of new people stopping by the channel. I guess it wasn't in Terra Invicta, I suppose it was Cultist Simulator that first did this, but I've been delighted to see a lot of first-time chatter messages. Because, like, Twitch will give you, I don't know, some of you, I'm sure some of you must stream on Twitch, but, like, when you finish a Twitch stream, it'll actually tell you the number of unique viewers that the stream brought, and then, like, the number of chatters and so on and so forth. So I suppose one thing you could do, like, if you were thought audience interaction was really important, you can maybe, like, work out the ratio of people who chatted versus the people who visited, or, you know, take your average viewership, concurrent viewership, and compare that to something like the number of unique viewers or whatever. I mean, you can come up with measures for anything. Whether or not it means anything is another one. But it has been actually delightful just to see, you know, see new people stopping by and specifically saying hi. You know, as I'm fond of saying, like, it's my job to do a good show, but I do like it when people people take the time to say hello, even if it's just that, because I know lurking is usually how I watch this stuff. I should actually, on that note though, I should maybe say that I suspect because this game is going to be getting a 1.0 release in a few months, there may be some people here who have questions about the game. So I have been playing this for a while, pretty much since when it first came out, actually. Now, that doesn't mean that I know everything about Industries of Titan, but I think I have a fair shot at being able to answer most things. So for those of you who are curious about the game and haven't been able to get some details from how I've been playing, I'm actually really happy to answer questions. You know, if I don't know, I'm usually pretty good in terms of just coming clean. But I know, you know, Brace Yourself did give me a copy for promotional purposes, so I figure letting people know what the game is like is probably... You have a lot of questions. Well, hit me with your best shot. Obviously, you don't have to do that right away. But if you're curious about the game, I can do my best to try and make things a little less confusing. And that goes for anyone, incidentally. So even if you've been watching the channel for a long time, if you've watched me play Industries of Titan for over a year and you still don't know what's going on, definitely let me know, and I'll do my best to try and clarify. Okay, so I'm gonna buy a conversion center first. I do want to get residential and office buildings set up for you know, one, to protect from pollution, but also to just have more people. But as I said before, I tend to run out of power with these things very quickly, so I want to get a little bit more of an industrial base set up before I go further. Your first question is, what makes Industries of Titan unique? What sets it apart from other city builders? That's a really good question, because to a certain extent, there is quite a bit that's familiar in this game. I guess the first thing I would say is that it's best to consider this sort of a city builder strategy hybrid. So I honestly can't think of a lot of city builders that have a direct combat element. In fact, I don't really think it's fair to say that there's much in the way of disasters in Industries of Titan. So I like thinking of, you know, the classic SimCity, right? SimCity, you can have everything from like Godzilla stomping on your city to a UFO attacking to basic fires or whatever. And there are fires in Industries of Titan, but fires will happen as a result of combat. And so in this case, you'll notice that I've got a ship here. And what's kind of interesting, the way they've done it, I'm actually starting to build up a ship right now. And there's this really neat way that they've handled it. I'd actually sort of say that there's two big parts that I think aren't necessarily present inside of other city builders. But they've done a good job of taking some of the city builder component. Like, so I like saying it's kind of a Matryoshka doll of sort of the mechanics. You can go to the micro and then the macro level. So I'll give you an example of what I mean. Generally, you do not start with sort of big cities like this. So for instance, I've built a mine, I've built a big energy plant. Where I started was my headquarters. And inside my headquarters, I built like a power generator and a fuel fabricator. So with that in mind, you can sort of see that this is definitely following in, it's not just The Sims in the sense of, city builder. Like obviously city builders are a sim, but it's also fair to say that there are other types of simulation games such as Dwarf Fortress or maybe Satisfactory to a certain extent, Factorio, these kinds of games. And I think it's fair to say that Industries of Titan is sort of participating in that kind of activity as well, that you have a lot of resources to manage and you're trying and build up some efficiencies in terms of how you're managing your city corp. So usually what you're going to start with is not actually building a city, but you're actually going to work out a plan for an ideal factory. Now, I've crammed a lot in here, but once upon a time, this was a bunch of empty tiles. And I'll show you one of the other factories that I've built out. So there's a lot of garbage here because I haven't been managing my waste very well. But in this case here, inside this factory, I've got minerals going into a mineral processor, a level 1 mineral processor. Those will go into a level 2 mineral processor, and I'll get a level 3 coming out. And essentially what this does is it gives you a number of construction units. So tier 1 gives you 1, tier 2 gives you 5, tier 3 gives you 25. And 25 construction units is important because that's when you start going to the macro level. That's when you start building things like an energy plant. So an energy plant is going to cost 200 construction units. This is kind of a fully upgraded one, which is connected. So this is the largest amount of power that you can generate, 216. If I were to dismantle it, I would get 16 tier 3 minerals back. So 16 times 25, 200, then add 120, so 220, something like 250, I guess. And then a bunch of isotopes as well. So contrast that to even my highest cost, or my largest generator. That thing cost me 4 tier 2 minerals. Oh, did it? I'm gonna blow that up and use a tier 3 then. But that thing's generating 9 energy. So you can see the sort of stuff that you'll put inside of a factory is so much of a smaller scale than the energy plant. So one of the first things is that you arrive on Titan, Saturn's moon. You start by building a factory, and then you start working your way up to building the city corp proper and building things on a much larger scale. I'm just going to take a second here to claim this isotopes patch. The last component, and I should actually get working on this because it's 90% before we run into a combat aspect, is there are ships. So you can build ships and you can fight with them. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm actually going to be building a ship that I'm going to be sending out into combat to defend my city corp and ultimately do some aggressive moves as well. So first thing I'm going to do here is build an engine. So, and again, there's a little bit of a song and dance that I'm doing as far as the minerals are concerned. I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but if you want me to elaborate, I can. I also just noticed that my research is done, so I'm going to find another thing to work on. So better research efficiency isn't bad, but I think I had something that, yeah, I can pay my employees less. I also had better pollution resistance. I want to make more money. So the Rebel Threat Meter is based on your net worth as a corporation, and artifacts can actually contribute to that net worth, so doing this research is actually helping me keep the rebels at bay. That's me. I don't think it... I'll just say I'm kind of abusing a mechanic that way, but it's convenient, so... So anyways, as you can see, I'm sort of stacking the differences in terms of the explanation here, but just remembering that the framing for a lot of this is to answer what makes Industries of Titan different from other city builders. you can kind of see, again, I was talking about that micro and that macro level, but in the end, like the Tetris game of trying to make all of your different components fit together is still there. And that also extends to this combat section. So I will just mention I do have fixed defenses. I've got the defensive turret that's set up here, and I can turn that on when the fight begins. But what I would prefer is to have something a little bit more mobile. So I built engines in there. Let's also get a life support. Actually, I'm just going to take a look at my other ship. And I think I built a medium power plant. Yes, I did. I built a medium generator. Medium generator and a small fuel fabricator was enough. So we'll follow the same rule there. So this is going to require a little bit of thought. So I can stick this up in the corner. Well, I'm going to start by building lasers. Now, I'll go for medium lasers again. So I could put a couple here like this. And I could stick my power... Oh, you know what? That's going to work pretty well. Because I can put a relay down... Oh, nope. Because that entombs something. But I could stick a relay here. So I'm building a large relay because the combat's actually going to be a little bit like FTL, and so you can target sensitive areas. And a large relay is a little bit more... it's a little bit more protected than a single relay. So with that in mind, I also want to put a small fuel fabricator down. I guess I could kind of stick it in the corner like this. Now, it turns out you can climb over people in pods, so... You know, I want my crew working, not slacking, so we'll put all their crew pods beside the fuel fabricator. Okay, so this will generate power. It's going through the relay to touch the lasers. Let's also get a medical pod and a life support. All right. This is gonna get complicated. Oof. Oh, nope, that works. Okay. Yeah, I didn't exactly think this through, but... Oh, hang on. Medical pod here. I need to get life support down, but because of where the relay is, this corner's kind of untouchable. But I can creep it over here. And then what I can do... Again, this is a little bit of a Frankenstein's monster of a layout. We definitely want some fuel storage. We also want batteries. So one of the things I'm trying to do is make sure that there's paths for people to walk in all of these different areas. So I don't mind it being cramped. Oh, I technically... Yeah. It's a little bit of a cheat for my usual thing, but... I really don't have enough batteries on this thing. But I also don't have a lot of space for batteries, so I think I'm just going to have to get over it. Okay, so we've got life support, we've got a couple of guns, we've got... I think we've got everything we need. So again, it's not exactly my ideal ship, if I'm completely honest, but it'll get the job done, and we're at 92% of the threat, so I also probably shouldn't... I probably shouldn't drag my feet on this. So the other way that the combat elements of the game will be relevant... Oh, also I can get rid of this energy pylon, which will get me a few extra isotopes. So one of the ways that the combat is relevant to this game is that... I should talk a little bit... Oh, sorry. Where do most of the difficult decisions happen? The micro layer or the macro layer? That is a good question. So, the nature of the decisions are different. So the micro layer, you'll probably notice that a lot of the buildings are shaped in sort of these strange objects. And in fact, in particular, you'll note, like, I have... Okay, I don't want to sound full of myself on this, but in some circles, I have something of a reputation for very compact designs. So I call this my work from home, and this is just something that has a nice feature of like using up a lot of tiles to maximize the number of workers and a number of citizens and places for them to work. And then there's a slightly different version of this where I basically put another employee pod and I use this section a little bit differently. But it's a very efficient factory as well. Again, the efficiency is relative because right now there's garbage all over the place, so the workers are going a little bit differently. So in one sense, as far as placement is concerned, the micro level can be a difficult decision simply because you're trying to fit a lot of things that you want into a constrained space. And you'll also have certain decisions like maybe you want to, double up your factory, but when you double up your factory, you're not able to like bury it, and so it's a harder target to defend. Oh, I'm gonna launch my other ship here. Now at the macro level, the buildings are a little bit more fixed. So you'll notice that I've basically got a bunch of rectangles and the occasional square. So it's not that you're really stuck in terms of trying to figure out where to put your things. Every once in a while, the game throws you a curveball. So there are these inert ruins, which are very valuable tiles that I think, in my opinion, generally you want to take advantage of. They can give you some really nice bonuses. But that will maybe disrupt some of your plans in terms of working things out. So it's hard to say that there are difficult decisions on the macro layer in terms of placement. However, it's easy to spend a lot of money or a lot of resources on the macro layer. So for instance, roads cost 20 mineral CUs. So in that case, really what you want to do is you want to level up from these tier 1 minerals that you pick up off the ground. You want to put them through the refining process from, tier 1 mineral up to tier 3. And that's obviously going to involve some infrastructure and some effort to get them, to get things to a level that you're happy with. I'm noticing here it says I've only got room for 18 citizens. Did I accidentally power this off? I'm a clown. I thought that was enough. All right, well, we'll upgrade it, and then that'll solve the power problems. So, again, considering the amount of effort it takes to get a tier 3 mineral, the fact that one tile of road costs that much, or for instance, the ability to get a large, like a fuel turbine, which will generate a lot of fuel for you, or an energy plant, which will generate a lot of power for you, each of those are going to cost 200. So you're looking at about 10 tier 3 minerals for that. Generally, the difficult decisions that you're making on the macro level are a little bit more about the allocation of resources. I also noted here the influence. So this is a type of currency. You also have credits, which are the more traditional cash. But influence is how you will gain access to tiles. So the areas with sort of the blue highlight are tiles that I own. And I actually ran into this a little bit earlier in the game. I wanted to claim these obsidian ruins because they're very valuable in terms of minerals and isotopes. They're at tier 3 for both of them, so 24 and 6 is certainly a very valuable batch. But it costs 120 influence. So I was like, okay, well, I'll wait and save it up. But if I mouse over my... oh, does it say here? Yeah. If you look under current influence, which is just below the council communications, I appreciate I'm probably playing on a higher resolution than I'm streaming, so it may be difficult to see, but it'll say here that I'm at 33 of 100. So if this costs 120, right now I don't have the capacity to get enough influence to be able to claim these ruins. So the way that I can get additional influence cap is by taking out rebel camps. In the earlier stages of this game, taking out rebel camps was actually the way that you would win. In the game now, the way that you win is by fulfilling corporate goals. So right now we need to do 1 of 3 in political powerhouse, we can do 3 of 6. My apologies. 3 of 6 in political powerhouse, 3 of 6 in enterprising employer, and in 3 days in game time or spending the money, we can also find goals inside of martial mastery. Or you can just be a rock star and get all 3 here. There's also a rival corporation, which we will see sooner or later, I'm sure. So I'm just going to take a second here and spend some of this influence. Oh, actually, sorry, I don't want... Right, yeah, they're working it. So in this case here, you would see me spending influence to claim the mineral patch, which is now being worked by the mine. You don't have to use the mine, just the mine extracts the resources faster, so that's why I'm using it here. So in this case here, the combat's not just giving you something to do, but the combat actually has implications in terms of how the... certain decisions that you're going to make. So in addition to the fact that taking out 5 rebel HQs is something that, is a goal for my win, I may actually want to see my cap go higher. And that's particularly desirable to me because I've got a ruin monument now within my my territory, the areas that I'm able to claim. I'm going to get a second one over here, and ruin monuments allow me to get more influence per minute. So in this case, it allows me to expand faster. So in this case, the combat is not just sort of giving you something extra to do, although that's always nice. The combat actually does have implications in terms of the city building aspects as well. Basically, being able to engage in combat is something that's going to allow you to build a better city. In the original trailer, the game also made reference to a combat bond in reference to a rival corporation. So they just added rival corporations in the last update. You presently cannot add rival corporations, but I believe if they're talking about combat bonds, I think the implication is that you will eventually be able to pay the council, sort of this entity that basically owns Titan and is responsible for getting you started on your city corp. Basically, you're going to be able to pay for the right to blow up your rivals, which I think is a fun approach. So, I mean, obviously I spent a lot of time talking about a lot of features and things to do and things like that, but I would say to a certain extent, I think Industries of Titan is really... I think it's very clear on what sort of its interests and its inspirations are. I think it definitely is a sim in the spirit of surviving Mars or Dwarf Fortress or Factorio. It's definitely a city builder, and again, in the spirit of SimCity or City Skylines. But it is also fair to say, to a certain extent, it is a real-time strategy game. But obviously, if I were to say to you that this game is a real-time strategy game, it might be a little confusing because I'm clearly not moving around a lot of those individual units. And that's also, I think, one of the ways that this game sort of stands. You have enough genres that it can overlap with and be able to have an interesting conversation about what makes the game work. It's actually also fair to say the lead designer on this is Andy Wynn, who did Tooth and Tail. So certainly, the team does have a background in doing real-time strategy. But to a certain extent, they've sort of gone out on their own, and they've kind of created this interesting hybrid, which it's one of the reasons I kind of need to take all this time to unpack a lot of these different ideas, because while it's true there's a lot of city builders out there, it's kind of hard to think of a Tetris-y city builder with a combat element to it. So. Subcom. I've not actually heard of it, but if you don't mind, I'm going to take a second and write that down. Another economic RTS that I'm really interested in actually is Off-Road Trading Company by Mohawk Games, which just recently released Old World. Oh, Supreme Commander. Yeah, I'm not. I the name rings a bell, but I don't think I've played it, so it's definitely one I want to check out. But yeah, if you like an RTS with an economic focus, Off-Road Trading Company is an excellent game, but it's definitely a very focused game in terms of the real-time strategy aspects. Okay, can increase the harvesting rate. I don't want to do this pollution resistance because I can get it for one. Yeah, I think I'm going to research the resource patch harvesting rate, and it's not because I want to get the resources faster. It's because I want that access to more resilience. Sorry, there was another thing I was going to say. I lost it. I've been doing a not bad job of holding the rebels at bay by spending a lot of resources, but I should probably just let the attack happen. I will maybe just make a couple references to some other things that are going on here. So I've sent a lot of my workers out to survey ruins. Every once in a while I forget. Command center is currently being worked on. So you can send people to scout out the ruins. The lore there's actually quite a bit in this game as far as like lore and history. So in this case here, there's descriptions of the different buildings and we're the Landfallers faction. I believe they're going to be moving away from factions in this game and instead giving you different starting conditions. Because ultimately it has sort of the same effect as giving you different factions. But, in this case, instead of picking a faction, you're picking a starting bonus, which will give you that variety. They've been actually working quite a bit in terms of replayability for the 1.0 release. There's a couple of blogs which I can link at the end of the stream if you're interested in those details. But yeah, what I was meaning to talk about was a couple of the other decisions and things that I'm working on right now. So I'm building up command centers and improving them so that I can extend my reach. So, I was talking about the background. So basically, there were inhabitants on Titan before. I don't believe it's known what happened to them. But basically there are, this is one of the reasons I like talking about this is that there's actually quite a bit of cleverness in terms of sort of the writing and the way they present certain information. So basically, the reason why there is this sort of gold rush on Titan right now is that there have been these ruins and these artifacts found in them. And so this entity known as the Council has been sponsoring the City Corps. You are playing the founder of one of these new City Corps. And essentially, so I have kind of a theory in terms of what's going on in terms of Industries of Titan. So obviously, why do people, why are there startups? Well, a startup is sort of distinct from a small business because people expect not just to get fabulously wealthy, but they expect to get fabulously wealthy on a very short period of time. And Titan is no different. Now, one of the things that's kind of interesting about this game is that you can trade with the Council. So the Council's kind of given you, the initial investment. This is Einar Pier, Council member, sort of your patron, your host. I should actually mention you do get to talk to a lot of these different members. I've kind of been ignoring it because I've heard these a lot, but maybe I should be playing a few of them. But in any case, with the Council, you can trade with them. But what's interesting here, right, is that you can request favors from the Council for influence. I'll actually take a second here just to show you. I talked about the lore, but didn't really read any of it. So to just give you an idea in terms of, they are actually putting some effort in terms of building a bit of a world. So influence, a Titan unique currency used by the Council for trade deals. While influence is a much more stable medium of exchange, the Council has been known to alter the value, though they rarely give their reasons for doing so. It is useful to stockpile nonetheless, and some asteroid belt mining companies even offer salaries and influence. So, there's a lot that's kind of there's a really great opening cinematic for this game, actually. But there's a bunch of really fun ideas to unpack here, right? Which is that normally when you and I think of influence, we kind of think of something intangible. My background in school actually was political economy, and one of the papers that my advisor actually wrote, he was a co-author. I believe actually his wife was one of the other authors, was this idea of sort of charity as a form of lobbying. And it was a really clever paper in which they'd sort of looked at certain types of charitable giving in congressional districts. Sorry, I just dropped something. I gotta pick it up. All right. But basically, sure enough, it happens to be that these groups happen to be, their charitable giving winds up being very carefully targeted in line with, the sort of things that other lobbying activities are lined up with. And there was a pretty strong suggestion that this was effectively kind of a shadow or alternative way of sort of getting around some of the transparency, some of the legislation to kind of give an account in terms of the potential influence. So I'm maybe not someone who necessarily believes that lobbying is the same as bribery. I do believe there is a meaningful difference between the two, but that's a conversation for another time. I'm not going to be someone who says lobbying is inherently good. Just I don't think it's quite the. I just want to be clear that when I'm talking about lobbying and influence in this game, I want to suggest that there is not the direct mapping to our real world, right? But in this case here, inside of the world of Titan, the idea of being able to influence the governing authority has actually been commodified, essentially, that it is now a currency in its own right. And that is, in fact, the thing that you use to buy your tiles with. But you can also use influence to buy other things from the council. So if you notice here that I can get minerals, I can get isotopes, and I can get credits. But the reason why I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the implications and the subtlety in terms of the way that the game has been written is you can also make donations to the council. So you can donate minerals, isotopes, credits, and artifacts to gain influence. And you notice, so the exchange rate also gives you a really good idea of who's in control. So I can donate 10 tier 1 minerals and get 5 influence, or I can spend 10 influence to get 5 minerals, right? Likewise, isotopes, I can get 1 isotope for 10 influence. I could donate 2 to get 5. I could donate 500 credits for 5 influence, or I could spend 10 to get 250. And then if I donate an artifact, I get twice as much as what I would get elsewhere. So I could donate an artifact and get 10 influence. But notice that I can't get artifacts back. So I don't believe this has ever been explicitly said, but my personal belief is that this is very specifically, I believe this is very specifically designed this way, because I think the writing of this game actually has a clear idea. So here's the thing, I think when Brace Yourself sitting down to make this game, they actually have a very clear idea of what people's intentions are. And I suspect that ultimately the council is not that worried about material goods. They're rich enough. They can part with credits. They can part with minerals. They can part with isotopes. The thing that they want, and they don't necessarily have access to, are artifacts. And the reason that they build or help found these city corps are that people like me who are, trying to make it big, right? Like somebody who's trying to be incredibly wealthy. Oh yeah, sure. There are these red artifacts that I've found in a ruin somewhere. Yeah, that's going to get me some influence. I'm going to be able to buy a bunch of stuff like that. Oh great, I can get 250 credits out of that. That sounds like a really good deal, right? And so the idea here is that essentially the council are playing the much longer and more subtle game. I know this is a bit of a dated reference now, but there's the House of Cards, the Netflix remake, not the BBC original, or was it BBC? I think it was the BBC. Anyways, the UK original. There's Frank Underwood, talks about one of his former proteges, Remy, and says that he's one of those people who wasn't able to notice the difference between money and power, and how he couldn't abide people who couldn't tell the difference. And to a certain extent, I kind of think, and again, like, even if this isn't true, this is just a fantasy that I like to have while I'm playing the game. But that ultimately the council are playing a much more subtle game and are essentially leveraging the greed of the type of character I'm playing myself in order to get what really matters, which are these very rare and precious and scarce resources from these artifacts. And that is ultimately why the corporations on Titan exist. So again, I mean, like, I'll be honest with you, like, I don't think a lot of people play city builders for the story, but they're good writers on that Brace Yourself games. Like, there is definitely some engaging material. Actually, I'll take a second. We'll tell you what. We'll wait till the rebel attack, and then maybe we'll do a couple of the calls so we can learn a little bit more about these people. Every once in a while, your advisors will call you, and you get to learn a little bit more of their story. So I should see. Yeah, we'll have 2,000 at the end. So I believe that's the last of the buildings. Maybe storage. Nope, yep, we've bought everything. So at this point now, I'm going to be using credits for repairing buildings and possibly getting influence. In fact, we're going to get 640, so I can afford to do one donation in exchange for influence. All right. So one thing I want to start doing is just clearing out space. So the start that I went for is great because it gives you a lot of resources, but it's also very cramped. So I need to start making some space for my greater plans. And one of the things I want to do is set up a mine and a factory for minerals so that I can really get the show on the road. So I'm going to claim these ruins. So again, I surveyed the ruins ahead of time. There's no artifact, so I'm going to buzz it down for it, well, salvage it, for 8 minerals and 6 isotopes. It will also have a byproduct of waste, which has actually been causing me some trouble in the factory here. I thought I had somebody dedicated to waste. I did. Okay. So there's a couple things I'm going to do. Look at those healthy citizens. First of all, I'm going to make some new workers. You also use red artifacts to build workers, so it's not specifically something you trade to the council. Oh, to give you an idea of the simulation side of this game, so it's raining right now. So there are pollution levels. Probably the smokestack's the better example, but a lot of my various industries kind of at a standstill right now. But there are times when the pollution is quite severe. Rain will actually cause the pollution to go down in some regions. So if you take a look at this pollution overlay when you have a lot going on and it's been raining for a bit, you can actually see the change in the pollution levels. Similarly, there's ethane. It's basically a fuel, or can be turned into fuel. You pull that out of the atmosphere. It's generated from excuse me, cracks and crevices. So that's why I built this fuel turbine here, but it's absolutely changing the levels based on what I'm pulling out and whether or not there are different buildings dedicated to filtering out different substances. So, and pollution does have an effect in terms of the health of my citizens. You can see that my average citizen health is actually quite low. In fact, one just died. And one of the consequences for that is I'm going to have to spend influence to be able to get some replacements. So the general idea here is that you'll bring citizens in. Citizens can work at monetization stations. What are monetization stations? Well, that's what the codex is for. Sorry, that should be a device. Ad companies often run research studies to find out what Titanite citizens want to feel more satisfied. The answer is somehow always more ads. It's hard to argue with the results, so give the people what they want and make money off it. These little stations show non-stop ads for your citizens to watch, which earns them credits in return. So
Watch me from your seat at the council's feet, Founder, and see what true conviction looks like.
Meet Zoran Gorak. He is the leader of the rebels. So, not only do we get to hear more beautiful music, but I get to show off the power of the Lost Tiger. So, Council has some rules about how to do combat. You can only fight one ship at a time. I believe rebels can attack you with more than one ship, but you can't attack the rebels with more than one ship. And for the kind of level 1 ship that I've got here, this is a Goshawk model called the Lost Tiger. I've got 2 medium lasers that I've equipped on the ship. And what I'm going to do here, this is what I was talking about before in terms of kind of like, a little bit like FTL. One thing I might want to consider is where are the weak spots on this ship. So there's a lot of crew. Now, you'll notice that there isn't really... I'm trying to think of the right way to put it. Like, there isn't a med bay. So I could just go trying to attack the crew and wipe them out. One other way I could try attacking the crew would be to focus on the life support systems. What I'm going to do for the start, though, is I'm actually going to use my 2 lasers, and I'm going to attack their lasers. And it's basically, I'm just going to try and disable their armaments before they can come after me. So we'll start and see if that works. Looks like they're still working away on them. Yeah, so they were able to fire at me. So we're going to keep pounding away for a bit. I'll turn on the medical pod just in case. Now, while we're focusing on combat here, there may be another ship on its way, so I just want to make sure... Okay, nope, looks like the rebels have only brought 1 ship for now. So I'm going to try an alternative strategy now. I'm actually going to focus on taking out the life support. So I've got 1 free unit who's kind of just running around trying to repair whatever they can. Alright, looks like, yeah, we've totally wiped out their life support. They're, of course, doing a fair little number on our own ship, though. Now, the only thing that I'm worried about here is I don't actually seem to be taking this thing out long enough to be denying them their health. Oh, no, oxygen's starting to fall. I think we've done it. Yeah, so we're going to start seeing some of them drop. I just want to make sure we don't have any other... Yeah, only one ship this time around. So yeah, in this case here, attacking the life support was probably the better call. In this case, we don't need to worry too much about the attacks, which is good, because as you can see, there's a lot of fires and only 1 guy to put them out. But this unit should probably fall to the lack of oxygen in a little bit. Now, it used to be that you actually had to fully wipe out the ship no matter what. In this case, once you take out all of the enemy units...
I was on your side today, but I will be back, and we will see if fortune favors you again.
We'll be ready for him when he comes back, won't we, Founder?
Meet Alexa Carrick, the Admiral. So my ship took some damage, so I'm going to send it back to the shipyard. You can have 2 ships for every shipyard. By the way, I was mentioning in chat earlier, Sir Karma was talking about little pylons that came up, so... Oh, I actually don't see them. Oh, there they are. Yeah, these things. So in this case, I'm going to hit repair ship. Now this is going to cost me credits. It's also going to require a worker to actually come to the shipyard and get the repairs underway. But that's fine. That's working as intended. I'm going to turn the medical pod off just so it can start generating a little bit of power. And in the interest of sort of showing the combat, I kind of neglected my Enterprise. As you can see here, I'm full up on all of my different resources. So let's start clearing things out. So one thing I definitely want to do is build a mine next to the mineral node. So we'll get working on that for starters. Now technically I don't have to put it beside the mine, but it's just as easy. Yeah, no worries. I mean, like that's sorry. That I realize in retrospect that can kind of sound like a kind of a almost backhanded, like that, or like I'm not trying to be catty. I'm just saying it's like I definitely have stuff that I need to do. So I should get on top of making sure that my my city corp is running efficiently. So, or at least as efficiently as I can manage. But I'm going to be setting up a mine here so we can extract from the mineral node. We still have a couple of mineral patches that we can be pulling resources out of, but the intention of this thing was just to be able to mine as much as I can and then just dismantle it. This is really so that I can start generating ridiculous amounts of minerals and hook it up into a larger logistics network. That's also going to be true for this isotope node, but the isotope node is further outside of my outside of my region. Yeah, no worries, HK. I mean, the thing is, I really like talking about this game too. Like, I like this game a lot, and it's been a lot of fun to follow the game over its development. Like, I still remember the day that I got an email from Brace Yourself with the key, and I was really stoked about it. You know, the game is just so different from what it was before, and like in a good way. So it's also a nice little opportunity for me to be able to remind myself a little bit about why I'm doing certain things, or you know what I think works in the game, or maybe some things where I'm trying to learn how to play a bit more efficiently. Like there's definitely an edge for me to do this stuff too. Okay, there's a couple sensors here. So I'm noticing that this inert ruin sensor range is nice, but this is like the corner of the map. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm seeing here that I can't already see. And it's sitting on 4 artifacts. Likewise, this one's got a sensor range. Now, admittedly, it's not sitting on any artifact. So maybe I want to build a road around it. I'm not sure. There is actually a goal for having a certain number of inert ruins activated. So there may actually be some logic in turning that on. But yeah, so like this thing here, sensor range 9 in the very corner of the map makes absolutely no sense. But it's also a relatively easy to defend, you know, artifact. So why not, you know, go for the win there, right? My big focus right now is on trying to get some more workers. So unfortunately, I can't do any more conversions because there's too much waste in the region. Now, I thought I had some people manually assigned to cleaning. I do. I just have that much waste that I need to get rid of. That's a little terrifying. All right. So it says I can launch the ship, but you'll notice it's not fully repaired. That's just because I ran out of credits. So we'll wait till the next work. We'll wait for the next tutorial. Or is it not tutorial? Sorry, we'll wait for the next work period. So in the meantime, we're working on the mine. That's fine. What I also want to have is a factory next to it. Actually, these ruins are about as good as any, so let's extract them. Oh, crumbs. It would have been a good choice, except for the fact that there is the inert ruin in the way, so that's actually not a good place for them. That was a blunder on my part. But that's fine. I think what I'll do is I'll put a road in here. Yes, I'll sort of snake a road through this. I'm actually going to activate this inert ruin because it absorbs pollution, which is going to be generated by this mine. And then maybe I'll put the factory... I could put the factory here, or I could put the factory here. I guess it doesn't really matter one way or the other. And then... no, hang on. think what I'll do is road, factory, storage, and then just let the road sort of snake around. Okay, looks like we are filling up for isotopes. So if I can upgrade something, I should. Question is, what do I want to upgrade? Smokestack might make some sense. Okay, so now that I have the plan in terms of where I'm going to be putting the factories and such, I should start claiming those tiles. Also gives me a chance to spend some more of those resources so that I'm not, you know, my factory can be working on other things. Now I'm also going to need to get power to it, so I'm just shy of what I need in this region, but that's fine. I don't necessarily mind building infrastructure to support the operations. Okay. So I'll start by putting down the factory. I'm going to combine the... So I was talking about this earlier. So in this current state, this is like a level 1 mine. I can upgrade it to level 3. So I have to upgrade it to level 2 first, obviously, then go to level 3. But I also have the option of combining the mine like I did here. And essentially what happens when you do a connect, it'll actually show you in the tooltip. So warning, connect disables both buildings until the connection is complete. So basically... Oh, sorry, it's connecting both buildings until the connection is complete, but the other warning that it should tell you is that you have the option to burrow buildings, so that will defend them. The buildings that can't be burrowed are your headquarters. If that gets destroyed, you lose the game, and then command centers and turrets can't be burrowed. Everything else can be, but once you connect a building, it loses the ability to be burrowed. So you gain efficiency for buildings, but it comes at the cost of being sort of this fixed position that you have to defend from the rebels. Now, obviously, the early waves of rebels are relatively easy, so they didn't even get close to my city core. But obviously, if they wanted, they could target my fuel turbine, and if they successfully destroyed it, I would not have any. I would be nowhere near enough fuel to keep this energy plant going, and I'd be in a lot of trouble. So my personal preference is to maximize efficiency. So generally, what I will do is I will spend to upgrade the building. So in this case, it's a it costs 4 isotope CUs. Usually in this case, I will do an isotope level 3, all things being equal. And my general feeling is that, like, basically, yes, I'm giving up 5 CUs, but alternatively, what I'm doing is if I use 2 tier 2s, in that case, technically, I'm really only losing the 1 CU. The other way of thinking about it is that because I'm using 2 tier 2 resources, over time, those can be upgraded into tier 3s. And so to me, the loss is actually, you know, the 6 that it would have moved up to. I don't necessarily think everyone thinks that way. And I will admit that sometimes that thinking will lead me to make very silly decisions in this game. But I don't know. I have my particularities. I realize I'm a bit of a weirdo on some of this stuff, and it's just the way that I play. So your mileage may vary in terms of how you interact with some of the different choices for your resources. I do want to think a little bit about my road network, because we are eventually going to want to send that out to the mine. I think I probably want to generate the 20 influence for the ruins first. I'm not generating any money to donate. I could donate some minerals. 50 is a lot to give up, though. I think I'm just going to be patient. I can, however, go back to the tech web. And we are finally going to get the bridge and anti-pollution ionizer. So this is going to take 22 minutes. the time it takes to research increases as you research more things in the game. So I will definitely want to lower my citizens' waste generation. Spokesman's HQ plus bonus to HQ range is definitely a nice one to have, although we don't have a bridge to it yet. Yeah, so we're just going to leave that be for now. The tech web's a relatively recent addition, but it's definitely a good one. Okay, we're ready to claim these ruins. Now again, we don't have any power to this thing, but that's fine because we're not really ready for this thing to go live yet. In fact, what I'm really waiting for here is for somebody to empty out the minerals. Now you'll notice we're earning credits again. We're earning at a slightly lower rate than we used to just because we don't have the full number of workers. Or sorry, a full number of citizens, but we actually also have fewer employees than we normally do as well, so I guess it's a trade-off. What I'm going to do is just slowly take out these ruins, and the plan is basically road network that connects both the mine and the factory. I'm also going to have storage units to store the minerals. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a building that looks a lot like this factory, but it's going to be 2 lines of mineral production and then also further production over here. And the hope is that eventually I'm just going to completely replace this factory with a mineral factory over here and an isotope factory somewhere over here. I tend to prioritize minerals first just because minerals are the things that you will build buildings with first. And then isotopes, you generally wind up upgrading buildings with them, but that shouldn't be taken as too strict of a rule. For instance, factories and these energy pylons are buildings that are actually built using isotopes. In any case, I'm going to go to tier 2. So back to that rule that I was saying, in this case, it takes 2 isotope construction units. So in this case, I'll use a tier 2 isotope because in the end, I'm technically giving up 1 construction unit, but because I'm only using 1 unit, it's no more of a loss. If I'd used a tier 3, I would be giving up more construction units. Again, I kind of treat... Essentially, what I do is I take, I'll call it my asymptotic view of Titan resources. I treat basically every tier 1 and tier 2 as something that is equivalent to a tier 3. Like I said, it leads to me to make some ridiculous decisions sometimes because, for instance, if the rebels are about to send a massive fleet your way, you maybe want to care about the resources you have on hand, not the potential resources that you may develop at some point in the future. But I still think it's a decent way of planning out your company. At the very least, it minimizes some of the costs that you'll face. I was talking earlier about how I've used all of my credits right now to buy all the different buildings that I need. It doesn't mean that credits are useless after this point, but I'm definitely in a better spot in terms of donating. So we'll donate some credits to the council for the extra influence. And slowly over time, we'll be using that to kind of clear out our roadway. Right now, though, this is all just sitting as potential. Of course, we're getting artifacts for it, so... One option I do have is I can assign workers to mine these mineral patches if I really want to get rid of them very quickly. I'm less inclined to do that now, though, because if I'm struggling to get workers to fill up my smokestacks and all of that, is the council essentially a resource trader? Mechanically, yes. The council itself is that was that organization which I sort of said I think is a lot more interested in gaining the artifacts. I'll actually just take a quick look and see if there's a council entry. I think probably it's more of a character thing. Einar Pier is sort of the chief representative of the council. Yeah, so we'll get a read of Einar. Faction: the Council. Position: Council Economist. Origin: unknown. Anar was part of the original resettlement crew on Titan. She has extended her lifespan via expensive rare genetic modification. A flawless schemer, she finds it easy and enjoyable to manipulate and control others. No one truly knows or understands her outside the core group of council members who all descend from the original recolonizers. Viewed as an off-map trader? I mean, technically they are on the map. Like, you've got the council hall, and when it comes to your livability, being close to the council hall actually generates undesirability for buildings. Again, if you have this somewhat oppressive, kind of shadowy government figure, probably you don't want to... Like, I don't know, how would you feel about living next door to the NSA? You know, like... But yeah, I mean, mechanically, definitely, the council is experienced very much as a trader. But I did promise I was going to do some of these calls. So let's introduce ourselves to the council.
Welcome to Titan, Founder. I am Anar Pier, your council representative. There are currently 9 council members on Titan. Each of us sponsors and oversees different corporations on this moon. I am your sponsor. Your city permit and council funding are thanks to me. I hope you will return my faith with high profits. And remember, everything the council has given you can easily be taken away.
I'm going to be waiting a little while just to gain some influence and clear out some of these. So we'll keep going through the logs. But obviously, if anybody has questions or comments or anything like that. Also, I don't know if I said hi to you, Immortal Velity, but hello. But yeah, if there's any questions or that come up, or you know, if I should elaborate on any of this, definitely feel free to speak up. But in this case, I'm going to be talking a little bit less just because I'll let the game talk.
Rebels are a thorn in our side, and the Council expects you to dispatch them. We do not require war bonds when attacking rebel forces, and we encourage their total destruction.
Welcome, Founder. My name is Shiaro Hess, and I am your corporation monitor. Every Founder on Titan is assigned a monitor like me. I make sure you treat Titan with respect. It is the Council's property, after all. If we work together, we'll make this city very efficient.
These are not entirely... Like, there is a formal tutorial for this game that you can enable at the start, but eventually the tutorial sort of signs off, and the remaining explanation of the game will generally come through these calls. However, there are times where you'll learn a little bit more about the characters when they call you as part of the gameplay. And again, that's just something that was recently added to the game.
Founder, you now own a valuable patch of resources. It is time to harvest them. Select any patch of resources you own and assign an employee to work there. Your employee will obediently collect those resources until none remain.
Oh, he really wants me to do that, huh? I'll assign an employee and see if that changes the mission, but I don't actually want to have an employee there just because I'd prefer to have them working the smokestacks and such. May not be obvious why I'm moving these ships out of this region over here. It is worth remembering, so everything in the game is simulated, and that'll also include the Zethane distribution. So generally my ship can absorb more over these crevices. It's also unlikely that I'm going to build any kind of extraction near these particular crevices, so I generally like to park my ships in spots where they'll get enough fuel. But they also won't be drawing fuel from regions that I might be building fuel extraction myself.
Founder, you can utilize employee modules to increase processing speeds in your factory or your headquarters. Processing is the only refinement stage that can be altered this way. You can add as many employee modules as you like, as long as you have the employees to operate them.
So that's going to be, I referred to my magnum opus earlier where I had 2 employee modules. My ideal setup is generally mineral input, level 1 processor. Sorry, 1 employee module on the level 1 processor. That's basically, I mean, technically you can fit more than 1 if you're willing to sort of give up the space on the other side here. But basically, level 1 works faster. So in order to kind of have this theoretical kind of maximum throughput, I put 2 employees on the level 2 so that basically you can just kind of shoot through the whole series. Of course, this assumes that I have enough employees to have someone whisk away the tier 2 into the tier 3 right away, that, the floor is not covered in garbage. Like this sort of setup really is not ideal. Most importantly, I just do not have the employees to be able to afford to put 2 more on the existing processors. But that's what Ciaro is referring to in that example here. And I'll actually be giving you an example of that ideal setup in just a moment. So Jared J was nice enough to tweet this out. Jared J is a community manager intern who worked for Brace Yourself for a while. He's actually working on the game Card Shark now. But yeah, this is... If you follow the Titan Twitter, you will have seen this. You will have seen this design. Of course, if you've watched me play this game, you'll have seen this design. This is my minor contribution to the Industries of Titan community in terms of... I call this the Opus Magnum. I should probably explain these different modules. So, mineral input module. So you put tier 1 minerals inside this. It has to be attached to a processor. So definitely think of the processor as like the hub that's actually doing the conversion. Needs to have an output somewhere, and you need to have at least 1 worker working it. So the essential components are an A input. You can have more than 1 input to it, but you need to have at least 1 input. The processor itself, an output module, and an employee module. It's helpful to have a waste module so that things don't immediately spill out onto the floor, but that's not necessary. You also need to hook up power and whatnot, but in this case here, this design is basically set up to sort of maximize the use of the floor space in a factory supporting a lot of refining. There is some people have a really big issue with the waste modules I put in the middle here because it's kind of considered to be an exploit. Honestly, you don't need to put the waste modules in here. Like, I just think it looks nicer than having a big empty middle. But like, it's not essential to design. If you want, you could put like waste receptacle. Actually, one thing I originally tried was to put waste receptacles to see if the garbage would fall into that, but unfortunately, it doesn't. I'm actually going to do one thing here. I'm going to go back to my factory and I'm going to turn off the tier 3 refining. Number 1, that's going to give my employee a bit of a break to do other things. It's also going to help me build up some tier 2 minerals, which I need at the moment. So, anyways, I'm going to build the first line of my special setup. Oh, I always struggle to do the other side of this. Is that right? Guess it is. So basically the idea behind this is that you get, in terms of the minerals, so this is supposed to be churning out tier 2s that immediately go into the 2 to 3 processor, the level 2 processor. And then this is the one that keeps churning out tier 2 minerals. So essentially, this production line is going to make sure that you have the 25 construction unit value resources. But as you can see, there's a lot of different items which wind up costing me, 5 construction units, and I don't necessarily want to waste a tier 3 on those. Those tier 3s could be used for building a ship or a fuel turbine, for instance. And so in this case, this is just a surplus, little surplus tier 2 generator because I had the extra space on the floor. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but I actually don't have that many tier 2s, so I'm just going to start by building all the processors. And then, of course, I still need to put power and all that stuff down, but I can at least get the basics down. And I actually think that's it until... yeah, I think that's it until I get more tier 2s. That's fine. Again, I can just go one step at a time. Now, the reason I've not been building any... in order to get this stuff working, you do need to worry about your power. So you'll notice here there is this energy bridge, and then, of course, that hooks you up to the grid, so you can see that there's all these different relays that are making sure all the different buildings are getting power and such. I've not bothered to do that inside Factory 9. I should probably give these things names, but I haven't done that inside here because I don't actually intend this thing to be working. Like, for this thing to be working at full capacity, I need 4 workers per line. So it's a total of 8 workers just to generate the resources for this factory. So generally, like, I want to kind of make sure that I'm in a slightly better situation as far as the number of employees. Clearly, I'm not there in this playthrough yet. So I'm spending the resources I can because I find it convenient, and I think it's like I think it's a decent idea, particularly when I was running into situations where it was telling me I was I was running out of space. I think it's a good idea for me to be able to. I think it's a good idea for me to be able to work with what I've got and work with things that I'm eventually going to have use for. But clearly, I don't have anything remotely close to the number of employees to make this thing useful. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to clear out the last of these details. I guess I can talk to a few more of my people. Ayana Oak is probably one of my favorite characters.
Hey, Founder! Thrilled to finally meet you. I'm Ayana Oak, your power systems engineer. I'll be managing your city's power systems. That means fuel, energy production, energy storage, all that great stuff. It's my passion, honestly. Since I was a kid, I've wanted nothing more than to slam the contact switch on a giga battery and see the sky light up. And after years of school and grad school and VR training programs and dropping out of VR training programs, I'm finally here. We'll do great stuff together, Founder. Trust me. My career is on the line, and you can count on me to take that seriously. Hey, Founder. Fun fact. Zethane, that weird gas you're making fuel out of, it comes from sinkholes and crevices. There's way more pouring out of sinkholes and crevices, but there's a lot more crevices, for whatever reason. The zethane eventually spreads out across Titan's landscape, but it's way better to just put your fabricators near a zethane source.
So I had some surplus influence, so I think what I'm going to do for my road is sort of build it around the edge like this. I'm going to have a bunch of residential units over on this side, so I want to try and avoid generating pollution that's going to be affecting housing over here. Obviously, right now, I've got all my housing here beside this mine, so that's why there's a bunch of people dying. But in terms of the long-term plans, I want to try and keep the roads, reasonably far away from the places where my fragile citizens are going to be kept. Also, a little bit of the logic behind how the city's getting built. So the idea here is that I've got a mine, so the trucks will be able to move the resources from the mine directly into the factory. The factory will be generating tier 3 minerals, which will then go into the storage facility. Now, right now, there's a little bit of waste and an isotope sitting in here just because I was slow on the draw, and it got filled up. But basically, this thing is going to be a home for pure minerals. And it'll be hooked up to a larger transport network where, like, eventually I want to have a road that's going to the shipyard, or alternatively, just move the shipyard so that it can be hooked up to the logistics network. But, like, basically, the idea is that if I need to get resources somewhere, it's going to be attached to a highway, and they're going to be able to sort of move what they need rapidly. So we should have some extra trade tickets. So again, I don't have that much of a use for credits at the moment, so I'll donate what I can and try and get closer to getting the resources that I need. One thing I'm a little annoyed at is the local storage in the mine is keeping me from harvesting these minerals. I'd prefer to just dismantle this and move on with my life, but no such luck. But we do have some construction units worth of tier 2s, so I can finish off the grand design. And again, just same logic as before. Oh. Mineral input, employee module, output. And the reason why it's facing this way, so like this spills out tier 3s, these are spilling out tier 2s, and they're basically just going to kind of sit beside. So now I need to put storage containers. Oop. And eventually I need to put down some relays and such. But again, I'm not actually going to hook this up to a network until. But you can kind of you can see the general idea. Like once this gets all wired up, it's going to be producing the largest number of minerals I can pull off. One thing I may be considering with my isotopes, I may actually want to upgrade the mine right away. I'll start by upgrading the smokestack, actually. We are really falling behind on these tier 1 minerals. I wonder what's taking so long. I guess it's because we're just so backed up on garbage that I can't produce anything now. That's a bit alarming. Also, for some reason, I forgot to designate this for tier 3 isotopes, so that's been a bit of inefficiency. Okay, I mean, it's late, but... One thing I may do, because there's a hold-up on this production line, I may actually open this a little bit early, and then just dismantle the lines that we've got inside this factory. Okay, what do I want next? Yes, I would like to reduce citizen waste. Okay, we're getting closer to linking up to the network. I didn't need to go quite so elaborate, but I don't know, I like the idea of keeping the roads away from my residential areas. Yeah, no worries, HKUDP. Again, I like answering the questions. If nothing else, it gives me something to talk about. So I was actually probably going to finish in about 15 minutes anyway, so I suspect you probably won't be missing all that much. If you like Titan, and if you're just here for Titan, I will generally do Brace Yourself games every Wednesday. Chances are next week I'm going to be doing Phantom Brigade because that will be getting the next update. But my habit is usually to do whatever game has most recently got an update every Wednesday. So if you're looking for more about the game, you can stop by on Wednesdays, and there's a good chance I'll be playing this. And of course, if you haven't seen Phantom Brigade, I highly recommend. And I'm not just saying this for my own channel, but like Phantom Brigade is a hell of a game by the same developer. So, even if you don't see it on my channel, like that is one you'll probably want to check out. But I appreciate it. Oh, you've seen it. Yeah, Phantom Brigade is amazing. So, yeah, the same developer as this. Obviously, a very different tone, different engine for that matter. But obviously, the engine is not the most important factor. But yeah, thank you very much for hanging out. Again, it's easier for me if I'm talking with people. So I appreciate the questions, and hopefully I have a better idea of what Titan's all about. Okay, again, we'll donate. Oh, sorry. Don't have the money to donate. So I'm going to need 50, 70 before I'm ready to go. I could probably try like running through here, but I think this makes as much sense. So I'm going to start wiring up the... I'll at least wire up the basics of this particular one. And if I recall correctly, it's got to be a relay here and a bridge here. And then I think I just need to put a relay here. So even if I don't hook up this side, we're at least able to get an alternative run that's not backed up with all the garbage. I still need to get the pylon down, obviously, but it's a tomorrow me problem. I can speed things up a little bit. Eventually, I'd like to get the other transport hub up so I can get even more trucks running around, but clearly getting all this up and running was the higher priority. Actually, it occurred to me I can get that pylon down right away. I guess I have to put it here. Yep. That's fine. We'll upgrade it. There may be a more efficient placement for this energy pylon when the time comes, but... Actually, I guess I can just go back to the old... You know what? Let's not get fancy. I'll just keep that up, because I'm going to need that for the command center anyway. And yeah, I may want to get moving on getting this factory up and running, because I think I'm going to be running out of minerals a lot sooner than I think I am. I can also use the credits to expand the council storage and the spaceport storage, but again, Storage shouldn't be a problem. I've already got storage facilities and such. I did fail to pay salaries. Now, if I start clearing out this region, that's actually a problem. Yeah, like, actually, we did wind up having a conversion happen. I got caught flat-footed there. But I'm kind of banking on the fact that we're sort of jammed up here, so we'll turn the power off for a minute. But yeah, essentially the idea here is to just start moving production to where I want it to be based, and that'll help me out as far as managing my resources. So let's get our bins down. We can actually basically turn this thing on right away. I will turn off these processors. And we're not quite ready to throw all our employees at full-scale production yet. Okay. Yeah, that's looking roughly how I would like it. So I think I'll maybe wait for the storage containers to get built, but then I'm going to turn this thing on and dismantle the... Actually, I can start by dismantling the tier 3 stuff right away. Oh, let's cancel that. No, damn it. I gotta put that employee module back. Oh, apparently not. All right. So this is going to spew out garbage as soon as I trigger it. Yeah, it says not enough space for the stored waste. I don't know. It takes a lot to make me cry. I guess I don't need to worry too much about that. Although I'm a little worried about grid 2 of 2. Ah, okay, this generator, it doesn't have access to anything. It's a little silly of me to do, but we've got more than enough energy, so I'm not worried about the loss of this. We could also actually afford to get rid of these generators and we'd be fine. It gives me more room on the ground to spew the garbage. I'm not going to do that, obviously, but... Okay, now, we did dismantle part of the... We did dismantle part of the setup, so I think I do need to get my act together in terms of... Okay, so that's all I need for full coverage. At some point I do want to build the ruin monument, but... wait, I don't own this tile? Oh, right, because I need to claim it with influence. Also, I should finish my roadway. Oh, excellent. Okay, and we've mined out all of the resources, so this can get dismantled. That'll free up a little power for us as well. More importantly, it'll just give us some more real estate to build stuff with. Probably not going to worry too much about factories. I think we are pretty much set with our mineral node here. But I can definitely see some things like conversion centers being built in this region. Probably an alternative shipyard. In fact, maybe building a shipyard here for starters. Well, no, we can keep this one, but maybe building a second shipyard. I guess I have to wait till after this artifact patch gets worked. Yeah, the purpose of the mine here was just so that I could... It was so that I could work all those resource tiles efficiently. It served its purpose, so I don't really need it there anymore. So I guess the big thing I need to think about now... well, one, I do actually need to get this mine like properly up and running, but conversion center is a little more important for that. So yeah, conversion center for workers. I probably actually want to start expanding into residential and office buildings a bit sooner than I think. So maybe I should consider building a command center around here. Now, obviously, I need to get, you know, my act together as far as all of this is concerned. But yeah, I was originally going to work on the isotope node, but I think that's actually going to be a secondary consideration compared to working, like just basically getting more citizens and more workers. I think I actually need to have the workforce to be able to sustain this stuff. So with that in mind, looks like they're already underway. Kind of cool to see. Okay, so the nice thing about this design is that there's also a couple of free spots that I get. So a lot of this is, I feel like I screwed up. Nope, that's right. So I get to put, you know, the modules are, you know, fairly intelligent places, right? You put them as close as you can to either the output or the input. But what's nice about this is you'll notice that there's sort of free tiles. So this relay touches, you only need adjacency in terms of the relays. So in this case here, I actually get a free slot where normally there has to be the energy bridge. I only need one energy bridge as long as I'm hooked up to the whole network. So as a consequence, I actually can never remember. Right, no, I remember how this works now. So let me put one of these. Actually, did I just find another efficiency? No, there's no way that those two reach. Well, maybe they do. That's something for me to examine in the future. Yeah, so this is a tier 2 receptacle, this is a tier 1. So essentially all the resources that you need are right beside the inputs. All the destinations have a receptacle for their outputs. And then of course it's all connected to the highway so that they can transport their goods when needed. And then the nice thing about all of this is there's enough room to add a couple of waste receptacles for you know, the inevitable byproduct. So the reason these output modules don't get bins beside them is that they'll be going straight into the tier 2 stack here. And again, that just happens to be a nice little efficiency that gets me the second receptacle. Or sorry, third receptacle. So there should be one here, and one here. Again, I'm not going to use all of them at this point, but oh, hang on. I'm going to turn off this because I don't need tier 3s yet. I will need them, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Also, I really need this waste to get cleared out. Okay. One more module and the masterpiece is complete. There we go. So I'll eventually have to turn this thing back on, but I think I'm gonna get a little bit of a runway of tier 1s out of the way. I am able to start turning off components. I don't want to get too crazy. Excuse me. I don't want to get too crazy with all of this because I will actually start turning these off, though. I guess I need this for the conversion capsule. Excuse me. But yeah, this is eventually I'm setting this up for sort of a decommissioning, but I don't want to lose any resources. I guess we can get rid of this storage container. Hey, we're just about to connect the road. Yeah, so I'm going to need 200 for the command center, and we're actually also going to need to see some tier 3 isotopes, so hopefully I'm already building those. I am. Presumably somebody's going to get the tier 2 minerals out of this thing. Okay, so no further production happening. We can afford to dismantle. And at some point we're going to have to deal with the waste, so let's just bite the bullet. And yeah, we got some leftovers. Can't do the conversion because I didn't pay my people. Now I need to keep this relay up because of this energy bridge. The rest of it is fine though. Like it's going to be inefficient production of isotopes, but we have 32 left. So again, I kind of need to think a little bit about my plan for getting isotopes in the interim. We will pick a few up off the ground, and then there's a couple of ruins like this, which are only isotopes, so these are still sources of resources for me, but I wanted to make sure that I've got my... I kind of wanted to make sure I've got all my logistics planned out before I focus too much on alternatives. Now, there is one question, like, so I'm going to be relying a little bit more on trucks, so there is something of an argument for building a transport hub right now. That'll actually take all my tier 3 minerals. I'm at a point where it would be nice to have more employees. So I think what I'm going to wind up doing is waiting. I'm going to build the command center first. I think I'm going to build it here because I think if I upgrade... Well, I don't know. I put... This one's really only... Actually, no, we still kind of get a claim on this one as well. Yeah, I guess we can put it. You can put the command center down here. Doesn't have any power, but I'll sort that out in a little bit. Now, this is actually gonna take a while to sort out. It may also give me a nice excuse to start kind of monkeying around with my my transportation network a little bit, because I don't want this residential area to be completely untouched by roads. I do actually need a place for the waste to go, but if I can just have one roadway, that's nice to have. Yeah, I think what I'll maybe do is I will clear out this artifact patch. I'll probably move... I'm actually probably going to move this shipyard just because it's so much more convenient to have a road, like, running down through this region. This is probably the best... Oh, I can't quite do that because of this inert ruin. But we can do something close. I have to dodge the crack too, so it's a bit of a narrow path. And this one's gonna make me sad. I have to spend 10 influence to either generate waste or destroy it, but I can live with that. I'll complain about it the whole time, but I can live with it. Yeah, so I think we just sit on the artifact patch. I'm gonna have $26.99, so I can pretty much afford to donate everything. And we've got more research done. So this is the like lowest efficiency research structure that I can build right now, so I'm not expecting miracles. The extra trade ticket sounds kind of nice. Oh, max employee limit also seems really good. I don't really have the workforce for it though. Let's go for better HQ range. That gave us access to cheaper repairs, and oh, this is definitely one we were looking for, was extra long pipes. So if I can make it, I think we need 2 of the extra long pipes. Oh, it's not gonna let me do it, is it? Nuts. I think I need 2 to make this effective. But there is a world in which we can actually get a mining operation set up on this side. I'd have to be a little careful about where I put... Oh, nuts. Okay, it's actually a little harder than that seems. Because I need to make sure I can get the road through it too. So I can't build it here. Well, I don't know. Maybe I could move the transport hub if it came down to that. It's because of this advanced filter. Anyways, that's something to consider later. Right now, I want to maximize the range of this command center. I can also eventually start spending some influence to start activating these inert ruins, but that's not quite the same priority as working the artifact patch, because the artifact patch is currently blocking me from getting some things done. Oh, thank you, Immortal. I think one of the big challenges is my computer chair is really good at collecting dust, and I'm generally okay at tidying it. But I also I sometimes stream with a blanket, and I don't know. I have a tendency either the blanket gets dusty or I've neglected the chair, and it requires one bump, and I will become reacquainted with the deposits in my chair. It's terrible. I need to be a better housekeeper, but I'm on my own here, so it's not a disaster, but it definitely reflects a guy living on his own. I'm too cheap to buy bookshelves. I have no idea why I'm telling this to chat, but so yeah, I'm too cheap to buy bookshelves. That's not entirely true. I'm in shooting distance of paying off the last of the money that I borrowed for school. So, and it's I couldn't get a proper student loan. It's actually off of a credit line. So, it's money that's owed to the bank. And of course, it's a credit line, so it's prime plus, and I'm sure everybody notices the interest rates are going up. So I'm a pretty crappy economic student if I can't see the writing on the wall. So I definitely made a pretty clear plan to slay that debt. So with that in mind, I've like been really, really strict in terms of purchases that I make. But with that in mind, I own a lot of books. And so when I look around the apartment, it's just these stacks like waist high and sometimes taller of just these books, everything from like textbooks to like popular reading. And it's fine for me. Like I know where to find everything that I need. But it is definitely the sort of thing that people comment on if they come to visit. So this is a big explanation as to why things get dusty and why I sneeze on on stream. All right. Upgraded command center. Again, I'm going to at some point use this as an excuse to build a mine to clear out all these minerals. It'll be a nice input to the factory here. I mean, obviously I built this mine for a reason, but I figured the longer I can wait before tapping this mineral node, it just means the longer I'm going to have a nice, big influx. But yeah, the real point here is going to be to set up my my commercial and residential areas so that we can afford to build a conversion center and just have a massive number of workers doing my bidding. And of course, if we need, I think we're pretty well set as far as power is concerned. Like we could already start building the residential and commercial buildings, to be honest. But obviously I can build additional energy plants if I need. We've already got this up to level 3, so there's enough redundancy in the system that I can build another fuel turbine if I need. I can build another, energy plant. But this was the goal, just to get started on the mineral node. Minerals, of course, are going to be how I build my buildings. Now that that's done, we can start worrying about where I'm going to be putting my workers that will be providing me the financial grounding to be able to build conversion centers. On top of that, it's also just kind of nice to build the conversion centers after I have a better idea of my layout, because conversion centers are a great option for high pollution areas. Although I'm trying to remember now why I am not building the transport hub. I feel like my excuses for not doing that are gone. Oh, excellent. We paid salaries, so we can donate some more credits. So my usual default is to buy trucks when I don't have anything else to do. And more importantly, now we can afford to convert people. Beepo, thank you for the raid. I should warn you, I'm actually getting ready to wrap up pretty soon, so if you want to turn your raid around, I will completely understand. But if you want to hang out for a little while, I'm happy to have you, and we can find a good person to host afterwards. Straight to bed though? That's fine, because I'm not exactly heading to bed straight away, but I'm probably gonna get a little writing done and head to bed soon myself. I actually wanted to be in bed for 11 because I got like 3 or 4 hours sleep last night, but I'm pretty strict on. I decided like there were too many nights where I said I need a proper sleep and didn't write, and I'm like, well, how serious are you about writing? So I'm not allowing myself that excuse until I've demonstrated the need. But thank you very much for the raid. Should I ask what you were playing tonight, or are you properly gone? I know you've been talking about SnowRunner lately. And everybody on Beepo's channel, thank you very much for stopping by. Again, I'm enjoying Industries of Titan, but I do want to be a little more strict on my finishing time tonight. I usually go for about 3 hours. So it may not be a particularly long stream, but I definitely like talking about the game, as I'm sure a few people in chat can attest to. and it's getting its 1.0 release in a few months, so it's definitely one for your wish list if you if you want to participate in early access. Now is a good time, because early access is wrapping up. But if you've been waiting for the full release, it's coming. I should also probably mention at this moment that I have been given a key for promotional purposes from Brace Yourself Games. It's, I think, 2 years ago now, so I feel like, the statute of limitations is passed on that disclosure, but I don't believe that there is actually a statute of limitations on those disclosures. So I'm going to keep saying it until somebody tells me that I don't have to say it anymore. I think it's fair to say, though, I would not be streaming a game that I don't enjoy for two years. Okay. I'm still waiting on this artifact patch to get cleaned up. One thing I could do to make life a little simpler would be I could build the shipyard lengthwise like this. I'm less inclined because, it's nice to kind of have the coverage like so, and that's just because I'm still able to build things like conversion centers in the spaces and, make the most of the road connections. I don't know. I could actually get away with just demolishing the shipyard now, but there's not a lot of value in it. There was another thing that I saw that... Oh, yes, the transport hub. Okay, so we'll connect this. That costs 2. And then I also want to get some power to this command center. So one thing I want to keep in mind is the eventual plan to sort of run a road sort of through this area. So I don't want to put a pylon like here. This isn't a bad spot for it, though. Again, I'm going to need to upgrade, but there are worse options. The other thing I could do is just put a pylon down here, but I figured this is close enough to sort of my core that there's some sense in having a little redundancy. I was wondering why the roads were shut down, but it's because I'm upgrading my transport hub. So under normal circumstances, I would consider upgrading a few of these other buildings, but I'm at the point here where I need to keep in mind that I've only got 19 isotopes and I don't have a clear path to getting more. Obviously, I can mow down these ruins and claim the isotopes, but that is going to cost me influence, and I may want to be using that influence for other things. Now, I do have 46 right now, so one thing I am going to do is take another isotopes patch out. Okay, so we've maxed our employees for now. Can save a little bit of power by shutting this off. I'm not going to demolish it quite yet, just because I may populate another ship. All right, happy about the connection. We've already paid the workers, so we'll buy a couple of trucks. But yeah, so in this case, I'm going to be conserving isotopes a bit. Having the command center here, that's fine. That makes sense. But I don't want to spend too much on upgrades that don't have, basically that aren't aligned with the goal of getting a proper residential area set up here. One thing I can start doing is clearing out these ruins, but even then I'd prefer to, where I can at least, I would prefer to take out the 20s rather than the others. Okay, so we need to upgrade this one. We're already on the tier 3s. We're sitting on some unused isotopes, so it's not all doom and gloom, but again, I want to be a little conscious of what I'm spending, at least until I have a better idea of where the next batch of isotopes is going to come from. And it might be helpful if I take a look at the coverage for a mine. So probably something like this. Yeah, 2 mine tiles here, so I'll clear these out manually, and then these are going to be where the mines live. I'm probably also going to have to clear out another tile for the... Oh, actually, this is a funny thing. So I could actually build... yeah, I could actually build a roadway to the isotope node, but I already committed to having the smokestack here, so this is going to be kind of inconvenient. In fact, it gives me a better reason to try and put the mine... yeah, so I need minimum 2 to make this work. Minimum 2, and then I'm probably going to have to reorganize this lineup. The other alternative and the more likely one is that I'll just build a command center somewhere in this region. And we'll build a road network, and essentially the mine will go... Really? I would have thought I could go at least 1 more tile away. But yeah, we could maybe put like a mine here, and the roadway kind of connects up like this. Plus, we get access to a ton of artifacts, so that's another nice bonus. I probably could have planned things a little bit better, because if I'm going to be building the road, essentially I need to put the command center down here. Oh, actually no, because I'm going to be researching a tech that gives me a longer HQ range, so that's going to work out for me. Oh, excellent. Let's investigate the ruins. Oh, good lord. I disabled a couple of those. Alright. So all of these are potential candidates for residential and commercial buildings as well, but my primary concern is definitely maximizing my extraction from these mineral patches, so... yeah, we're gonna put them right up to the edge. So of course the workers are basically going to have to walk all this stuff back. I'm fine with that because I don't exactly want to... I mean, even setting up the infrastructure here might provoke a fight with the rebels. But, you know, I'm just going to have to... I'm just going to have to live with that, that possibility. So this generates zethane. This is tempting because I could actually probably put a... yeah, I definitely could put a fuel turbine here. It's not going to be generating like tons like this one, but it's probably enough. Gale Gloria, thank you very much for the follow. Oh, this is tempting. It's not enough to power this factory. But I guess it does open up some possibilities in terms of some of my other buildings. Again, I'm not going to spend for the claim right away, but... there's actually some really good inert ruins in the area. But yeah, this is going to take us a while. I'll wait till we get the 20 and then we can claim this mineral patch as well. And then what I'll probably do is claim these ruins and set up a pylon just to be able to get this working. What I'll probably do in the interim, though, is I'll probably I don't know, like maybe I'll start the commercial and residential buildings like in these areas. I also just got to think a little bit about how,
Survey complete.
I suppose one way I could work it would be, so we run the road through here. I could maybe do like residential, commercial, which admittedly kind of leaves these rocks unattended. Well, okay, so the most extreme version of this, I suppose, would be
Survey complete.
commercial, residential. That still doesn't really leave enough space. I don't know. I'll figure it out. One of them is going to be storage for the waste. I mean, in reality, I'm still probably going to have to put like roads through it, but because we don't have access to fans and air scrubbers and all that, I do want to. Ideally, I want to limit the number of trucks running into that area, and I don't think we have the luck of any. Oh wow, that's 2 zethane generators. Yeah, we'd be stupid not to put a fuel turbine here, but unfortunately, it does mean that I don't have much in the way of. Yeah, I'm going to need to think a little bit about how waste gets handled. As I'm fond of saying, though, tomorrow me problem. Is there anything else that I can do before I wrap up tonight? I actually think this is not a bad place to end it. So let's talk about kind of the next few steps for this session. Of course, I mean the next time we play. So right now we're clearing out this minerals patch, and this is basically just so that I can claim a whole bunch of different tiles. Eventually this is going to be, residential and commercial areas. In theory, like, this is also a good place to put fuel turbines and such. But I've got a smokestack here, I've got a mine here, and the other mine is going to be going sort of somewhere in this lower area. So this corner, the only thing that's making it undesirable is zethane. And I mean, the fact of the matter, it's a ruthless opportunity map. There's just going to be zethane all over the place. I just need to accept that. So, residential and commercial areas, then conversion centers, and basically just sort of finance the expansion. And of course, doing that, that'll allow me to speed up the improvement of the factory. So I'll be able to build some additional energy plants to be able to afford the mineral and isotope expansion. In fact, we're already full on isotopes, so maybe I want to consider doing some unnecessary upgrades for a start. Transport hub would be a good candidate. Yeah, 24? Why not? I always want to build more trucks. But once that's done, actually maybe I'll claim out the second minerals patch too. Probably should have claimed the ruins so I could build the pylon, but too late now. But yeah, so the citizenry expansion and the jobs for them to work are going to be sort of hand in hand with the acquisition of more employees. And really the employees are first so that I can fill up the factory, and also help with, cleaning out waste and things like that. But the real intention there is just so that I can sort of finance the expansion to the isotope node, because I'm sort of at my limits in terms of isotopes that I can get. Okay, that's good news there. We'll build the mine. I am also curious if the rebels attack it. We've got a couple of ships in the area to defend it if they do, but obviously I would prefer not to have my resources attacked immediately. But yeah, once we have a proper mine set up for the isotope node, essentially we've got effectively an unlimited supply of our raw resources, and that's when we sort of start pursuing some of our goals in earnest. Even with the mineral supply that we have, we could probably save up to get some pretty decent ships. But I don't know, I feel like it's a little more effective to like really let your production sing, and you'll be able to, you'll just be able to build a bigger, more impressive fleet faster. And we're only going to be facing the third wave, so we're at the point now where we can sort of afford to drag our feet a little bit on the military side of things. Although I don't want to keep that. That's definitely not a principle I want to hold on to the whole way through. But yeah, I think I'm going to say that's it for tonight. So thank you everybody for watching. For those of you who came through Beepo's raid, I apologize for not broadcasting longer, but I've really been trying to be a little more disciplined in terms of the time that I go to bed. Just a reminder, I know I've said this a couple of times, but this game is going to be getting its 1.0 release. I believe the blog said it was November of 2022. Definitely winter of this year. I really think this is something special. It's, you know, it's a sim, it's a city builder, it's a real-time strategy game. It's got a lot of things that I feel are like not just popular, but like perennially popular, right? Like Factorio, there seems to be endless demand for Factorio-like games. I feel like to a certain extent, city builders are sort of like the cop and doctor shows of gaming. Like, I mean, if you want an idea of the influence of SimCity, like SimCity was the original inspiration for Sid Meier doing Civilization. Obviously, Civilization took a very different turn, but it's a huge part of you know, things that have made really interesting games. And Industry of Titan, in my opinion, is following in the, you know, in that tradition. It's a complicated sim. It's got pollution. It's got power. It's got multiple currencies, different building resources, and the complications of trying to fit the factory together. But at its core, it's still really enjoying the process of sort of big, you know, building something big and enjoying the satisfaction of, you know, seeing your handiwork, like see your enterprise sort of expand and do well. So I'm really happy that this is getting to a 1.0 release, because I know that there's a lot of people who are kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for the final version. Obviously for me, because it's been so fun to play this game in early access, there's a side of me that kind of wishes that stays that way forever. But again, I don't know if there's post-release plans or if anything else. You know, it's an opportunity for a really talented set of game developers to work on other projects. It certainly seems like Brace Yourself continues to be growing. If you are interested in game development, by the way, I do know a few developers watch the channel and some people who want to get into gaming, because they have posted a couple of internships. But you should take a look at the Brace Yourself website, because they have been hiring lately, both for very senior roles, but also a couple of introductory roles. And the ones that were posted, I believe, the older ones were tied to Phantom Brigade, but it seems like some of the other roles may be for unannounced projects. I may be reading between the lines a little bit too much. And Brace Yourself is, when they're ready to tell us about future stuff they're working on, I'm sure they'll be fine. But needless to say, it's a really interesting developer. They've got a really impressive set of games: Crypt of the Necrodancer, Cadence of Hyrule, Industries of Titan, Phantom Brigade. And so whether 1.0 means we get to see the finished version of Industries of Titan, or whether that just means it's the start of a journey for a post-release Industries of Titan content, I'm very excited to see what the future is from Brace Yourself Games. So with that in mind, let's see who's streaming, and hopefully I can find somebody streaming. And sorry, I hate hearing my own voice. Let's see if we can find somebody to host. Oh, there's a lot of good people on tonight. I do normally like to see if I can find Brace Yourself people, though. So, okay, no Industries of Titan streams. Oh, Takri, yeah, thank you for. I saw your responses on Twitter. I'm sorry to leave you but I'm actually half an hour past when I wanted to finish. I still have to do some writing tonight, and I need some sleep. I'm going to shout out a couple people who I'd like to host. So unfortunately, there aren't any people playing Phantom Brigade or Industries of Titan, but I do have a couple people who I plan on hosting. So if I could, well, I could, but I was going to shout out IntelliGame because he's somebody who I would normally be hosting, but the person who I am raiding tonight is Brian on the Rocks. So I mentioned this to a couple of people, or a couple of times before. Brian on the Rocks is another friend from Vancouver. So Brace Yourself Games is based in Vancouver. Brian is somebody who I actually met through a restaurant that he ran called EXP. It was kind of a gamer-themed restaurant. Now, unfortunately, it closed, but Brian originally had a background in the games industry and continues to have a background in the games industry. So he worked on, before the bar, he worked on a game called Prototype. After the bar, I believe he worked on Battlefront 2 alongside a couple of other EA titles. And his former project was Apex Legends, but now he is working on the new Star Wars game that Respawn is doing. They've announced the title, but it escapes me right now. It's not the strategy one. It's the proper, like, not Respawn published. It is the Respawn developed one. So anyways, obviously, like I said, a few game developers watch the channel, and Brian is one of them. But he's definitely a very high energy, really positive guy. But on top of that, he's actually going through a lot of the demos as part of Next Fest. And of course, Next Fest is what allowed me to play Terra Invicta earlier on. So I actually wound up scaring Brian off of Terra Invicta just because I mentioned the complexity for it. But he's a really friendly guy, really upbeat. So please enjoy him. I will see you all Friday at the latest for the next stream. Have a good one.